26-year-old Patrick Smith is suing his ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old sales clerk Elizabeth Hall, for loans, rent, eviction fees, and harassment.
Order. All rise. Yes, case number 17 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Hall.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
How old are you, Mr. Smith?
26, ma'am.
And you're 18?
Yes.
She was your girlfriend? She
Yes, ma'am.
became your girlfriend when she was 17. You're no longer involved. You claim she owes you the balance of a loan that she made for a car. You borrowed the money from your grandmother in order to give to her. You've since paid your grandmother back. She's paid back $400 of how much was the loan?
It was a total of $1,500.
And you paid back?
$400.
So how much do you owe?
$1,100.
Isn't that easy?
Yes.
Perfect. Is there any reason why you think you do not owe that money?
The reason is I spoke with his grandmother 3 weeks ago, and we still have an agreement that I'm going to pay her back. I have every intention on paying her back.
So you acknowledge that this is a loan?
Yes.
No, because that's not what you said in your answer. What else do you think she owes you for now that you're no longer a couple?
Okay, good afternoon, Your Honor.
Listen, we're way past hello.
Okay, I understand. We moved in together. The relationship was really good. We moved in 410.
We're past hello.
Okay.
What else do you think she owes you for?
$1,000 in back rent, ma'am.
Now I'll ask you questions.
Okay.
How much is the rent on the apartment where the two of you were living?
It was a house. It was $1,100 a month.
And how old was she when you moved in with her?
She was 17.
So she can't make a contract with you to pay rent?
I have her on the lease as
I don't
an
care
extra
whether you
source
have
of
her
income.
on the lease as your mother, your grandmother, your favorite aunt, or anybody else. She cannot make a contract when she's 17.
Okay, I understood. I have her name written down on here when she was 17, saying she was an occupant in the house, that she was
an occupant.
Extra source of income to the house. The agreement.
That's all wonderful.
Okay.
She can't make a contract when she's 17. She cannot enter into a binding contract when she's 17 years old.
I have her signature on here and everything stating.
As an occupant.
As an occupant, yes.
Got it. She's an occupant. She was, in fact, an occupant.
Yeah, and then we were living together. She turned 18, and then after she turned 18, she up and left.
There you go. That's why you don't go into an agreement with a 17-year-old.
Right, exactly.
Now, how old was she when you took out this loan for a car?
She was 18.
Okay. You're safe.
Okay.
Okay. What else do you think she owes you money for?
I got charged to file the eviction. When she turned 18, it took her 2 months to get her stuff out of the house, and I had to get an eviction notice because she wouldn't get her stuff out.
What stuff did you want out of the house?
A whole bunch of stuff. There was all kinds of stuff in the garage, refrigerator, dishwasher, VHS tapes, children's books.
Who has children?
They're her nieces. I occasionally watch them sometimes.
Occasionally, sometimes.
When we were together, yes.
What else?
And
I mean, you're here. You might as well get it all off your chest.
The harassment. She would drive by the house, all that stuff, and harass me with everything.
Did you go to the police?
I went and got a temporary protective order against her. Yes, I did.
Did you follow through and get a permanent one?
Just a 30-day one.
Why didn't you follow through?
Didn't feel the need to do it. I thought it was done and over with.
Is it done and over with?
Yes, it is.
Well, then why are you bothering me with it?
I apologize for that.
Good. She owes you $1,100 for the car loan. What else? Is that it? Is it all off your chest now?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Perfect. All right, you have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Get to it.
He ran me off the road with his car.
When?
On January 19th, and he got out of the car and punched my passenger window 3 times, and it ruined the window regulator. It doesn't roll up correctly.
Did you file a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a copy of it?
Yes, and the estimate for the window.
I don't want the estimate yet, just I want to read the police report. Mr. Smith, were you contacted by the police?
Yes, I was, Your Honor, but I never punched the window.
Were you contacted by the police?
Yes, I was.
And what happened?
They asked me to see my hands to see if I had broke the window, asked me if I punched the window. I said I tapped on the window to try and get...
Tapped on it?
Well, tapped on it to get her new boyfriend's attention, because he said anytime, anywhere, any place, so it was that time, that where, that place.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
How did it come to be that you were in a position to tap on the window?
She was driving through my neighborhood.
Very slowly.
Okay.
And I want you to understand something, Mr. Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't shimmy. Don't shake.
Okay.
Don't try to get over. Just tell the truth.
That's what I'm
The
doing.
truth will set you free.
Okay.
She was driving through your neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
She was driving through the neighborhood. I was coming back from the grocery store. I seen her car leaving my neighborhood.
Okay, so she's leaving your neighborhood.
Yes, she had just got done driving in front of the house.
Fine. So you came up from behind her,
Yes, and stopped.
and then you pulled in front of her.
Yes.
And when you pulled in front of her, did you stop your car?
Yes, I did.
So her car had to stop.
Yes.
Now, we're together.
Okay.
And then I assume, Mr. Smith, you exited your car.
Yes, ma'am.
When you exited your car, where did you go?
I went to the passenger window.
Who was sitting in the passenger seat?
Her new boyfriend, Joseph.
Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you went over to Joseph,
Yes. I tapped on the window and I said, let's do this.
tapped on the window.
Yeah, I said, get out, let's do this.
What did you want him to do?
Get out of the car. He told me.
Get out of the car and what?
And handle it like men.
You have to be more visual with me.
Get
I'm
out of
not
the,
a guy.
Oh, understand. I got a phone call the day before that saying we could handle it like men anytime, anywhere is fighting. So he was driving through my neighborhood with her in the car. I got out of the car. I tapped on the window, said, get out, let's do this. It's the time, it's the place right now, let's do this. And he locked the door and they drove around.
He locked the door.
He locked the door and they left. And I proceeded to go home.
What are you mad at him for?
He said anytime, any place, anywhere.
What are you mad at him for?
Because he started contacting her when we were together, selling her drugs and stuff like that. I mean...
Well, just a second. First of all, how do you know that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
By cutting her off and by looking to have a fight with him, I think that there's a screw loose somewhere.
Okay.
So I think you're a lunatic.
And later today,
Is there a concert there? Is there...
There is a concert event that lasts for 3 days, and we camp with tents and everything. So it's a camping. There's no really.
Great. I always admire people who camp and get down to nature.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patrick Smith says ex-girlfriend Elizabeth Hall owes for loans, rent, eviction fees, and harassment. Elizabeth is countersuing, claiming Patrick ran her off the road.
Now, you think that he was contacting her while you were together.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why would that make you angry with him? He doesn't owe you anything. She does if you were living together, but why would you be angry at him? He's a free agent. He can do whatever he wants to do.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
He doesn't have any allegiance to you. She did. You might be angry with her, but why would you be angry at Joseph?
He made me angry. He told me on the phone if I wanted to handle it like men, handle it like men.
Well, I don't understand why you think Joseph would call you unless there had been some history.
No, I was talking to the phone. I was talking on the phone with her, and he was in the background.
What were you doing talking on the phone with her? She had
I was
moved
trying
out?
to get her stuff out of the house.
And what were you saying to her in order to get her stuff out of the house?
I was trying to let her know to pay Grandma back and to get her stuff out of the house that I was
So
gonna...
what were you saying to her?
I said, you know, you have 30 days to get your stuff. I filed an eviction
Were you
notice.
saying that to her nicely?
Yes, of course.
No.
Okay.
And then after you were talking on the phone nicely to her, he got on the phone and said to you, we can handle this like men anytime, anywhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And then you thought it would be a good idea to cut him off on the street and have fisticuffs there in the middle of the street.
Yeah, correct, yes.
You're an idiot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What do you do for a living?
I was a sheet metal pre-apprentice.
Well, that's in the past tense. What are you now?
Right now I'm unemployed. I'm currently looking for work.
Who do you live with?
Adam Allen.
What does he do?
He works for the water company.
So who supports you?
Unemployment.
Continue with regard to your counterclaim.
I'm countersuing for the $320 for my window.
Right.
And I'm
You
also,
got it. $320 for the window. What else?
And then the remaining money, the $1,680 for just harassment and punitive damages and just emotional stress, because I have to go.
You know how much stress I have every day.
I had to go to the courthouse 4 times now, 2 for restraining orders, 2 other times for the violations of the restraining orders.
What happened with the violations of the restraining orders?
She got denied. Sorry.
The first restraining order was granted for 30 days.
Well, that's a temporary
Right.
one. He wasn't present when you were granted the temporary protective order. And then you went back.
And got an extension for 1 year.
Okay, so you got a 1-year protective order.
Yes, ma'am.
And he was present on that day?
Yes.
And then there was a violation?
Yes. The day out of court, when we were leaving the courthouse, I got down into the courtyard, and he came down the stairs and chased me through the courtyard, yelling my name, trying to talk to me.
Did you file a violation?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened with that?
We went to court, and he brought a lawyer with him, and his lawyer decided that I wouldn't get to speak on the other two, and that violation didn't mean anything because I didn't have any witnesses.
His lawyer didn't decide that.
Your Honor, I would have never
chased her. That was a judge who decided that. You had to hire a lawyer? Did you hire a lawyer?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What do you mean, yeah, oh yeah? It requires either a yes or a no.
Well, because she accused me of breaking windows and stuff like that.
No, there's no question you broke her window. There's no question you broke her window when you cut him off. That you're going to pay for, $320. That's coming off.
No, not that one. They said that I broke windows on their house.
I'm not asking anything about damage to the house.
That's why I brought a lawyer.
Is that the only time you brought a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
When I made that violation, that had nothing to do with about the windows being broken on the house. I have no idea how he knows about that.
She wrote it down to me in the restraining order.
No, I did not.
I have a copy of it.
Just a second. Just a second. I'd like to see it.
Okay.
When were the windows in your house broken?
On the same night that the restraining order was granted. And the first violation that we went to court for was just for chasing me out of court. He might have the copy now of the windows being broken. That was the other 2 restraining orders. But the day he went to court with a lawyer, it had nothing to do with the windows.
Okay.
Right here. And that's the copy of the other one right there.
When did you retain the lawyer?
I want to say March 25th. I hired the lawyer, I think. I don't really remember when I hired the lawyer. I think it was around March, yes.
How many times have you had to hire a lawyer?
Just this once. This is the first time.
Well, then you should remember when you had to hire him. We're not talking about 2 years ago, sir. We're talking about within the last 60 days. When did you hire the lawyer?
March 25th.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
Her motion for a violation of the protective order wasn't filed until March 26th. You just told me that you hired a lawyer on March 25th.
I told you it was around that time.
No, you just said March 25th.
Yes, I stated it was March 25th.
This is on tape.
But it was around that time. I told you I didn't really remember the exact date because I don't remember exactly when I got served with that. It's the end of March, I know that.
Perfect. You've been harassing her, Mr. Smith?
No, ma'am, I have not. I don't want to have anything to do with her. I'm sick of it. She's harassing me. She keeps saying a bird on her car, and I'm getting in trouble for it.
No, we're not talking about that.
I'm just saying that's the way it's going.
We're talking about showing a bit of temper.
No, ma'am, I haven't even...
Is this the person who went to court with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. Over there. What's your last name?
Alan.
Did you go to court with him when he had a hearing?
Yes, but I didn't go inside.
Oh, you waited outside?
Yes.
Did you see him when he came out of the courthouse?
Yes.
Look, Mr. Allen, don't play with me.
Well, there was 2 courts he went to. I went to the second one, not the first one.
23rd of March.
I didn't go to that one, Your Honor.
You're safe. Sit down. You owe $320 for the window you busted. You know, over another $500 because I think you're a lunatic. And by cutting her off and by looking to have a fight with him, I think that there's a screw loose somewhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm taking the $820 off the $1,100 she owes you, because she does owe you the $1,100 for the loan for the car, right?
Yes.
Your Honor, she was 18 when she was in the house, and she left 2 months, just left her stuff there and just up and left.
That's too bad. You owe him $180.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's all.
Please are excused. You may step out.
Her true colors really came out right when she turned 18.
Because of him, I just couldn't put up with it anymore.
The beauty is,
He's very verbally abusive.
It's hiding the devil inside of her.
And he's not the guy for me.
She's gonna leave you high and dry, man.
It was time to go.
That's all she did, was just leave me high and dry.
I just hope he'll leave me alone and let me live my life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Canaan versus Combs. Step forward.
Christopher Canaan is suing 19-year-old Maya Combs for the cost of a camping ticket at the Coachella Music Festival.
Mr. Canaan, we really don't need a chart.
Okay.
It's not a very difficult case. Okay?
All right.
Pretty simple. Miss Combs, you purchased a campsite.
Canaan purchased it. I gave him $250 to split it, the ticket.
Who purchased the campsite on the internet?
I did, and I have a receipt here for the purchase price.
And you gave him $250?
Yes, ma'am.
And
he bought the ticket, and then he gave the ticket to me because I was going to be arriving at the campsite first.
Okay. So you bought the ticket.
That's correct.
Gave it to her.
Yes.
She was going to split it with you.
That's right.
Now I got it. You arrived later.
I did, so...
Your phone died.
Yes, ma'am.
As a result of which he couldn't get in touch with you.
But I did text him directions to the campsite.
He couldn't get in touch with you because your phone died.
Yes.
We understand that?
Yeah.
He bought the campsite, he sold half to her, but he gave her the ticket, which allowed her to get into the campsite.
That's
There's
right,
somebody
ma'am.
there that looks at your ticket when you go in?
Yes, there's a line of
So
cars.
there is a person there that you have to show that you have authority to be in the campsite.
Yes.
Is there a concert there? Is there...
It's a concert event that lasts for 3 days, and we camp with tents and everything. So it's a camping. There's no really...
Great. I always admire people who camp and get down to nature. In any event, your phone died. He never got to the campsite.
That's
right?
correct.
And you want your money back.
That's something I'd like back.
What? Is that simple?
Yeah.
Now, did your phone die because you forgot to charge it?
No, because I left my charger at home. And
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
your phone died because of your negligence in leaving your charger at home.
I did text him directions to the campsite.
What if he couldn't get in?
He can get into the
Just a
campsite.
second. How do you know that he can get in?
It was free for anyone to go into the campsite, just not with their car.
And how is he supposed to get there?
He can walk in like most of the other people who are
Did you
getting
walk
the
in?
campsite.
Just a second. Did you walk in?
I was walking in and out of the campsite.
Did you walk in or did you take your car?
I took
Look
my
at me.
car in. I took my car
Don't think.
in.
Don't think. Just tell the truth. If you tell the truth, it's very simple. You took your car in because you had a
Car.
ticket.
Other people who did not
Listen
have a
to
ticket.
me. You took your car in because you had a ticket. He couldn't take his car in, even if he wanted to, because he didn't have a ticket. You had his ticket, and your phone died because you left the charger home.
He agreed not to take his car in.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. Madam, when you do something wrong, you're supposed to acknowledge you did something wrong. You're supposed to say, I'm sorry.
Well,
What do you want?
Your Honor.
What do you want? Did she give you $250? Listen, did she give you $250?
She did give me $250.
Did you pay $500?
I did pay $500. That's correct, Your Honor. And I guess what I wanted to add was just that because we weren't able to stay there for 3 days, we stayed under a car. We slept one night. My witness can testify to that. And
I don't care.
It's a sold-out
I don't
concert, so
care.
there's no. All right.
I don't care. What you bargained for, you didn't get.
That's right.
The
And
campsite
it
was
cost
left
you.
open.
And it cost you $250.
That's right.
That's what you're getting back. Good. Say thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Parties are
Old homemaker Kimberly White for keying her car. Kimberly is countersuing for mental anguish.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 51 on the calendar in the matter of Lawyer versus White. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Lawyer, the defendant is your current boyfriend's ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you and Chad have a child together.
Yes.
How old is the child?
She is 4. She'll be 5 on Halloween.
Where is Wonder Boy?
At home.
Why isn't he here?
Didn't
want to come.
Right.
It is your claim, Miss Lawyer, that the defendant keyed your car, causing extensive damage.
Yes.
It is your claim on your countersuit that the plaintiff keyed your car and, in addition, forced you to confess to keying her car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So let's get to your claim first. Did you witness the defendant keying your car?
No, I did not.
So what proof do you have that she keyed your car?
I have an audio tape that she confessed on.
You have a tape of her confessing?
Right.
I'll hear it.
You will admit to me that you keyed my car. Nothing will happen. I'm just gonna have to go get this fixed myself. But I'm telling you, if you admit it, don't ever show your face to me again. You already admitted it. Don't ever show your face to me again.
I
I won't put a hand on you. I won't press charges on you. Nothing. Just admit it, because you've already admitted it once. Just say okay. Okay. Okay, what? I did it. Why? Because what? My car is key. And who did it? I don't know. Exactly. And you think it was me because I'm your baby's daddy's girlfriend. And I can take you on there right now and show you. My car is key. But did she do it? She's telling you she did not do it. Chad told me that you admitted to him on the phone that you did it because I did that to your car. I'll go over there and show you, Candy. And that doesn't prove that she does it. Exactly. She did. I did not do it. I vow on my grandmother's grave that I will never, ever key anybody's car. Okay, well, you was over here the other night, Candy. How many people live in these apartments? Did you see it when you actually walked out to the car, or did you see it the next day? I know when I come over here, my car was not keyed. And you was over here that night. That doesn't mean I did it. You was over here that night. Doesn't mean I did it. And what happened here that night? I was very off at Chad. Yes, you was. And me too, wasn't you? I hate your guts. I know you do. But I would not do that to your car. Well, my car was keyed, and I can take you over there right now and show you my car. I don't deny that your car is keyed. The point is, you didn't have proof that I did it, which I surely did not. And the fact is that my car is ugly now. Oh, my car is too. Why would she waste her time on somebody she hates? Well, yeah. Why would I waste my time on you? So that the same can happen to my car? No. I know how it feels to get my car keyed. This is the second time a brand new car of mine has been terrorized. That's not Chad's car, that's her car. That is my car. You do not take out your animosity towards Chad on me, ever. And when you get out of this car, we will go look at your car for the simple fact that I don't give a But when you go home, I want you to think about, now leave that light on. When you go home, I want you to think about that you did to my car. When did you do it? Today. Where? Chad was at my house today. And he saw you do it? No, he didn't see me do it. What did he do at your house today? Today, he came over to my house. And y'all No, we don't. Then why was there a condom in the trash can? That was because somebody else was over there the other night. What did Chad go over there for today? Chad come over there today. Did you lure him over there so that I did not. My car? No. It was just the perfect opportunity for you to... Chad come over there today. For what? I didn't ask him to come over there. Okay. He come over there and it was the perfect opportunity for you to key my car. No. Chad came over there and Chad fell asleep. Okay? Oh, where, in your bed? Yes. He was asleep in my bed. And you know what? It'll be my pleasure to punch you in your mouth. But I'm not gonna lower myself to your standard. So what was he doing at your house today? He came over there today because he wanted to come over there. And do what? He wanted to come over there. And he fell asleep and you went out to my car and you keyed it? I went out there and I got my CDs out of your car. Today? Yes. And he stole my CDs. And you stole my recording tape out of this recorder the other day, didn't you? Or not the other day, it was about a month ago. Yeah, I did. So should I charge you with theft also? If you want to. And I didn't want to. Don't ever come in my house and take anything ever again. I won't. Don't ever come to my house, period. Don't ever come and see. Don't even page Chad. If he wants to see Kayla, he can come and see her with me. With me. He will never go to your house ever again. He will never be in my car alone ever again. I can't trust him, just like I don't trust you. I trust my mother and my family. That's the only people I can trust. You are with Chad, okay? I'm trying to get along with you and Chad. I tried to get along. I fed your tonight. I fed your tonight, and you did that to me today. I know that. I hope you throw up. I wish I would have poisoned my food. I wish I would have, just so you would die. Roll over and die. That's how bad I hate you right now. I'm sure you do hate me.
Does anything else on this tape have to do with the keying? Well, then turn it off. The first thing I'm going to tell you is, I would never allow your daughter to sleep over at the plaintiff's home again. Do you understand?
I haven't.
Because a child should not be exposed to the kind of hostility that the plaintiff feels towards you that will rub off on your daughter, and she's an innocent.
Yes, and she's had problems too because
you understand?
of it.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And they held a knife to me. I was terrified for my life.
She stole this tape out of the car because she didn't want Candy to have evidence.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candy Loya is suing her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Kimberly White, for keying her car.
Let's make this as painless as possible. Without getting into your counterclaim of how this confession was coerced, did you key her car? I'm going to give you an opportunity to just think about the answer before, because you don't want to fall into my mouth if you don't have to. Did you key her car?
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
You had lent him your car?
He dropped me off at work and I guess went to her house straight from dropping me off.
When did you see that the car was keyed?
He picked me up from work and I didn't notice it, but we stopped to pick up an application for him. And when he came back to the car, he acted surprised and said, "Oh my God, your car's been keyed." So I got out and looked, and the entire car was keyed.
Now you had your car keyed?
Yes.
When?
Her and Chad had came over to my girlfriend's house where I was at, and they came upstairs. And Chad wanted to stay and visit me and Kayla, and Candy got mad. And she went downstairs and waited on him for a while. And he stayed up there. Well, she got mad and she came back up there and got him and told him, "Chad, you come on. You're not going to stay over here no more. Come on." And Chad said, "Okay, Kim, I don't want no problems here at your friend's house. I'm going to go ahead and go and I'll see Kayla tomorrow." I said, "Okay." And they left. I stayed there a couple of hours with my friend. Then after that, I got ready to leave. When I got ready to leave, I went downstairs and I had to walk in front of my car. I noticed the whole hood of my car was scratched.
And it hadn't been scratched when you left it there?
No, it hadn't.
So now I have 2 keyed cars and no witnesses.
Yeah, but what she was talking about at her friend's house, we didn't actually go over there. We were driving down the highway and she was coming back from the dope house in Dallas. And my boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, and...
The ex-boyfriend is Chad?
Yeah.
So now he's an ex-boyfriend of yours too?
Well, he's been an ex-boyfriend.
For a while.
Why?
Since when?
For 4 months.
Okay. Tell me about this confession that I just heard.
Okay, Candy and her sister came over. They knocked on the door. Candy was as nice as could be. The sister was hiding down the stairs. She said, "Kim, can I talk to you?" Well, we used to talk about Kayla, my daughter, so I thought maybe she wanted to talk about that. She didn't want her coming over no more or something. So I said, "Okay." Well, we went downstairs and here pops out her sister. Well, so I stand there and I look at them and I was like, "What is it?" And she said, "Well, can we talk?" And it was cold. So I said, "Well, let's go down and get in my car." Well, once I got down there, I noticed I didn't have my keys. And she says, "Well, we can sit in my sister's car. It's warm. We just got here." So I said, "Okay." We got in the car. It was a 2-door sports car. I had got in the back seat. They got in the front seat. As soon as we got in the car, they locked the doors. The tape was not fully played, or something's been tampered with, because I was begging them to open the doors, please let me out. I was scared for my life. Then you can hear them. They're hollering at me, telling me, "You need to go on and say you did it." Well, before the tape was even played, they told me, "You need to say you did it. You know that whenever Chad was over there that day, you got up and you went down there and you keyed my car." And they held a knife to me. I was terrified for my life. So then...
How did they hold, who held a knife to you?
The sister had the knife and Candy held me down in the back seat.
All I want to know is, just listen to my question. Was there a knife in your car?
No. No.
Do you feel, Ms. Loya, that your presence and your sister's presence in the car locked was intimidating with or without a knife?
It was not locked, but no, I didn't have a knife and I felt no reason to. And About...
I asked you whether you felt as if it was intimidating.
No.
Oh, no? The threats were being made by you two, not by her. Right?
Yeah. That's, well, there's a reason for that.
What's the reason?
She was high. She didn't know...
Then why did you take her in the car?
Because I wanted her to confess on tape that she did that to my car.
You can't do that. You can't do that. That's outrageous. You know what that is? Kidnapping.
Well, the doors weren't locked.
Kidnapping.
Yes, they was.
No, they weren't.
Whether they were locked or not, if it's a two-door car and she was sitting in the back, she could not get out of the car unless one of you, either you or your sister, got out of the car first to let her out. So it doesn't make any difference whether the doors were locked or unlocked. She was a virtual prisoner in that car. That, Miss Lawyer, is called kidnapping. Do you understand?
Yes.
What?
Is it kidnapping when she says she will get in the car?
I'm sorry. Oh, here we go.
She agreed to get in the car, and...
Yes, she agreed to get
how
in
is
the
that
car.
Kidnapping?
Tell me why she agreed to get into the car. Tell me what you said to her.
It was cold outside.
No, tell me what you said to her.
Do you want to go talk in the car so we can sit in the car because it's warm?
Fine. And what was your intention when you went over there?
To get her to confess on the videotape.
Did you tell her that?
She knew that...
Did you tell her that?
No, ma'am.
Do you believe that if you had told her that before she got into the car, she would have gotten into the car?
No, ma'am.
Of course not. So you lured her into the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now sit down.
Could I say something about a confession?
Sure.
2 days after this happened, Kim paged Candy at work. So Candy called me, and I called her on three-way. And so I asked her, why did you key Candy's car? And I said, why did you key my car? Because car's in my name. She said, I didn't know it was your car.
You have that conversation with her?
No.
Yes, you did.
I did page Candy because...
What'd you page her for?
To talk to her about the car. Because she went over to my mother's house.
So what'd you call her for?
I just wanted to talk to her about it and tell her.
What did you want to tell her?
I wanted to tell her to stay away from my mother's house and don't go back over there with the tape. If you want to go to the police, go to the police. That's why I called her. With that recorder and told my mother, if you will give me $1,700, I will not take this to the police. And my mother said, I will not do it.
Did you go over
She stole this tape out of the car because she didn't want Candy to have evidence.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Get real. Will you please?
I know that they're not living together anymore.
I don't care whether they're living together or not. That doesn't mean they're not sleeping together if they're not living together, right? Play in the mud, you get dirty. Understand?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candy Loya claims her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Kimberly White, keyed her car. Kimberly is countersuing for mental anguish.
So Chad is no longer in your life, is that right? Perfect.
I just talked to Chad the other day. He told me they're still together.
Well, friends. They are not living together. Well, not friends, but
they're more than
acquaintances.
friends. And since all that's happened, I've had to take my daughter to counseling. I've had to see a psychiatrist.
You have a drug problem?
letter. No, I don't.
Did you?
No, I did not.
You work?
No, I'm not working right now.
Why not?
Because I'm seeing a psychiatrist. I cannot work. They terrified me. I'm scared to go out of my house. I have a letter here from my doctor.
Let me see the letter from your doctor.
Well, it's kind of funny that I picked her up on Christmas Day, and you had no problem doing that. And I picked her up several Saturdays before to take her to visit Chad.
Just a second. You picked her up Christmas Day of 1999?
Yes. And I picked her...
Just a second. To go
That
where?
is not true. She hasn't took me to see Chad.
To go
Not you,
quiet.
Kayla.
We had the agreement. Candy would come pick Kayla up so Chad could see Kayla, and Candy would bring her back.
Does your doctor have you on any medication?
Yes, he does.
What kind of medication?
I am taking Selexia, and I take a sleeping pill because I cannot sleep because I'm always terrified thinking that they're over there watching me at my house or something.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm not satisfied that this confession that I've heard on that tape was taken under the circumstances that it is reliable. You had somebody who was coerced into a car who was threatened, held in the car against her will, and I am not accepting that confession as proof that you keyed your car, so your complaint is dismissed. With regard to your car being keyed, that's dismissed. You have no proof. Miss Lawyer, I'm not giving you a dime for your damages to your car. If what you and your mother tell me is true and accurate, that this person still is part of your life, you deserve whatever you get. You deserve whatever comes to you. You will be in for nothing but heartache, and you're a young woman, but that's entirely up to you. You know, you play in the mud, you get dirty. You understand? Do you understand? Okay. So when you say to me they're just friends, no, they're just acquaintances,
Well,
get real. Will you please?
I know that they're not living together anymore.
I don't care whether they're
because she
living
lives at
together
home.
or not. That doesn't mean they're not sleeping together if they're not living together, right? She'll wind up one day on that side of the fence. You have a primary responsibility, Miss White. Your primary responsibility is to take care of your daughter. You pick this guy to father your child. You are in all probability stuck with him at least for the foreseeable future. He's going to be in your life. I strongly suggest that you don't take that out on anybody else. He's not worth it. And the worm isn't even here.
39-year-old restaurant manager Thomas Andrews for a loan to pay his child support.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 77 on the calendar in the matter of Allen versus Andrews.
Thank you, Bird.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Allen, you and the defendant lived together for how long?
About 2 years.
And you have no children together?
No, we do not.
But you just resided in the same apartment?
Correct.
Okay. And according to your complaint, there came a time when Mr. Andrews had fallen behind in some child support payments to former mate, former spouse, ex-wife. He faced the potential of being incarcerated. It's sort of convoluted, but I gather that he couldn't ask his parents for money directly.
Correct.
So you made arrangements to borrow the $1,300 that he needed with the understanding and the promise to his parents that you would pay that debt back to them when you got your tax return.
Correct.
You say you got your tax return, you did pay them back the $1,300, you and the defendant went your separate ways, and you want the $1,300 back from him.
Correct.
And Mr. Andrews says that the money was joint. Money that was paid back to his parents, he acknowledges that it was paid back to his parents, but it came out of a joint account. That's your defense, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not true.
When did you go to court for child support, sir?
3 of 98.
And how much did you owe in child support?
I owed, what I needed to pay was like $1,843.
What did you owe?
$2,300. $2,300.
And what were you told if you didn't come up with $1,800?
That I could possibly go to jail.
So what did you do?
I talked with, Kim and I went over and talked with my mom and dad.
So the two of you went over together?
Absolutely. We were in my attorney's office. We went and talked to my mom and dad about borrowing the money from them. We borrowed part of the money from them. We didn't borrow all the money from them because we had
$1,300.
$1,300, right?
Okay.
Right.
$1,300 from your parents.
Right.
Had you borrowed money from them before?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Often?
Not often. My mom and dad are not big on loaning money. They like for you to kind of make your own way.
Was there any discussion at that time of when they were going to be paid back?
Yes, that would be their first question. How and when are you going to pay me back?
And what was the discussion?
The discussion was we wrote them a check for part of it. They were to cash it on a certain date, and that...
Okay, let's go back.
Okay.
This is March of '98.
Yes, ma'am.
You wrote out a check to your parents.
Yes, ma'am.
Which I assume you have.
No, I
Cancel
don't.
check?
I have no check stuff. She has all that.
You have them?
I do.
And what was the date of the first payment to his parents?
That was on March 10th.
That's when the first payment was to be made to them.
That
They
was
could cash
when-
the check.
That was when I got my taxes back and the check was sent to them.
Let me see. Are you telling me that at the time you took out this, you borrowed $1,300, you did not in fact give them a check, as Mr. Andrews says?
No, we
stated?
did not.
Partial check.
No, we
Partial
did not.
check. For how much?
It was $500 and some odd dollars because you can see I have a $1,843 payment that was made on 3 of 98 to the child support
No,
services.
listen to me, sir.
Okay.
That wasn't made to your parents. If you owed them $1,800, you borrowed $1,300 for your parents, you didn't make your parents a payment of $500. You made the government You sent to the child collection unit $500.
No, I borrowed $1,843 from my mom and dad.
No.
And sent my mom and dad a check for $500 and whatever odd dollars it was.
The check
if I'm
that
not
they
mistaken.
gave him, the pink copy at the top, is for $1,343, and that is what we borrowed from them. They had made the check out to him to pay to Alamance County Courthouse.
Right. My mom and dad gave me a check, and I went and got a counter check for it, a bank check for it.
Doesn't make any difference. They gave you $1,300. That's all. That's what they gave you. They didn't give you $1,800.
Okay.
So the $500, you didn't give them a payment for $500, which is exactly what I said, Mr. Andrews. You gave the court $1,800, $13 from your parents, and $500 from you.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Well, it's been so long ago, some of these money amounts are not quite...
Well, you've been living with this situation, sir. I've only been trying to understand for 3 minutes, and I got it.
I understand.
Okay, good. I'm glad you understand. So now we're down to $1,300. Now, the $1,300 was repaid on the 10th of March.
And that was out of his account, ma'am. It was not out of a joint account. That was out of his account.
How did this $1,343 get into your account, sir?
I would assume we had both put it in there.
Don't assume anything. Try to remember.
I'm sure she got her tax money back and put it back in there. Put it in there. She has held all my financial records. I have nothing.
I didn't hold them, ma'am.
If you look at who wrote that check, you'll see her handwriting.
No, that's your
Just a
handwriting.
second.
Is it?
Joe, just a second. No, it's your handwriting.
It is? Okay. I haven't seen it. She kept it all.
Mr. Andrews, you said rather emphatically a moment ago that it wasn't your handwriting, that you remembered.
She usually wrote all the checks. She even wrote checks out of my
But
account.
do you understand what I just said
Oh,
to
I
you? You
understand.
said it's not my handwriting. She wrote the check.
Right. I
That was said with a certain authority.
Okay. I understand.
Okay. So this money came out of your account just a few days later
Right.
to pay back your parents.
Right.
It didn't come out of a joint account. It came out of your account.
Right.
Did you put the money there?
I don't know if I put any of it there, to be honest with you. It's been so long ago. I'm sure that when we talked to my mom and dad, we had a method of paying them back, and the method was...
Well, the method of paying them back was...
tax money. Right, exactly.
Tax money.
Exactly.
Her tax money.
Right. She had definitely...
So why don't you owe her this money?
I have no idea. I don't think I owe her any money.
Well, explain that to me. I mean, your answer, Mr. Andrews, says that the money was paid from a joint... Let me
Right.
try to...
That was best of my recollection. She's had...
That doesn't say to the best of your recollection here.
I
It
understand.
says, my parents loaned Kim and I the money to pay my child support payments.
Right.
We paid them back around a month later from our joint bank account.
This is not the first loan that Kim and I have had with my parents. And
This is the only loan. Just a second. This is the only loan I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, it was.
This is the only loan that's being sued for,
Right.
and your parents aren't suing you. They got their money back.
Right. Right.
So what you're telling me now, Mr. Andrews, after some dancing around, is that the money was in fact put in your account by the plaintiff to pay back your parents, and it was put there from her tax return.
I'm sure it was.
Good. Now, did you pay her back?
Not directly in a $1,300 check. I worked every day, check every week.
So
I
did
was the
ma'am.
breadwinner. You know.
So, no.
I brought the money in the household.
Just a second.
She didn't want me to go to jail because she wanted to make sure somebody was there to support her.
Well, were you working during that time? Let me ask you this question, Mr. Andrews. If she was getting a tax refund, that means she was employed.
I have 2 children.
Just a second. That means she was employed.
Right.
And earning money.
Right.
So that you weren't supporting her.
Not totally.
Even
and
if he wasn't
certainly,
there.
sir, she had more money than you did because you fell behind in your child support payments, so you couldn't even keep up your primary obligation, which is to support your children.
Right. My actual child support was, there was an order to modify that. The original order that was put in was incorrect. I was paying for children that weren't mine, and it was overpayment, underpayment.
What do you mean? You were paying for children that weren't yours?
The first order that I had was for a child that wasn't mine. I was paying child support for 2 children and only had 1 child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't a stranger that they picked out of a bucket and said, Mr. Andrews, you're going to pay for this child. So who is this child?
Well, Actually, my wife had this child while we were still married, but it was another man's child.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Kim Allen is suing former boyfriend, Thomas Andrews, for a loan to pay his child support. He says he paid it back.
Were you paying for 2 children, sir, because both of those children were receiving welfare?
No.
Well, the only way you can pay for a child that's not yours, in most jurisdictions in this country, is if you're married to their mother and you are their step-parent and there isn't another deep pocket to go after, so they say as a step-parent you are responsible for paying support, at least to the amount that the citizens are paying for that child support.
Right.
So is this child that you say, I find this interesting, is the child that is not yours a child that is totally unknown to you?
No, not unknown to me. No,
It wasn't a stranger that they picked out of a bucket
No.
and said, Mr. Andrews, you're going to pay for this child.
No.
So who is this child?
That child was my ex-wife's child.
Right. So
Right,
you were
exactly.
the stepfather of that child.
For about 3, yes, exactly.
Right. And as the stepfather of that child, there was a time when those 2 children were receiving public assistance.
No. Well, I get if you, yes, sure.
And therefore, the state was pursuing you for child support for both of those children. While the relationship of step-parent, stepchild existed until you were divorced.
Well, actually, my wife had this child while we were still married, but it was another man's child.
Oh, well, that makes it even more interesting. Still in all, there must have been welfare involved.
Right.
If you're going to be a good judge in the family court, you got to learn one thing. It's not like any other business. You got to follow the money.
Right.
You owe $1,300, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I lent him that money, and he promised me he'd pay me back, and it was my money to begin with because I earned it.
I do not believe I owe her any money at all. I have put money in that relationship to ends meet, and I guess hopefully this will be finished. She has been pursuing me for money, and hopefully this will be the last straw.
I called him a few times, and first time he said he had to think about it. Second time he said he wasn't going to. So that was my money, and I was going to get it.
She just keeps digging for money. I've got receipts here where she dug for money last year. Hopefully this will put a stop to it.
Girls out there, women out there, don't just give your money to any man.
Bring it to the diva of truth and justice, Judge Judy.
That's right.
And now the next case.
All parties on Seamus versus Summer. Step forward, please.
26-year-old second-grade teacher Corey Seamus is suing ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old music teacher David Somer, for a computer and a tattoo.
Miss Seamus, were you dating the defendant for a while?
Yes, I had been.
And during that time, a sister gave him a computer. You said that you would hook up the computer or do whatever you do with computers, and while you were doing that, you broke it. Is that right?
It had crashed and some things need to be reinstalled. It wasn't totally broken.
But that's while you were working on it.
Right.
So according to your complaint, you went out with the defendant, purchased a new computer, loaned him $400 towards a new computer. The second part of your complaint is you wanted to get tattooed. You wanted to get joint tattoos. He didn't have any money. You laid out the money. It was $600 in total, and he gave you $50 towards the purchase of a computer. Is that right?
It wasn't joint tattoos. We were going to get them together.
Or you were going to get them at the same time. He says he never accepted any of this as a loan, but I assume that you purchased the computer because you broke the one he had, and the tattoos were a gift. Okay. Plaintiff came over and you asked her to help you, or she volunteered?
She had volunteered.
Is that right?
He said, well, you know what you're doing, so go ahead and work on the computer.
So you did, it broke. Then what did you do?
Then we decided to take it to a computer store and see how much it would be to get the programs reinstalled that we needed to reinstall to fix it.
Okay, so far is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you both learn at the computer store?
It was going to be about as much, maybe a little bit less to get the computer fixed than to purchase a new one.
So what was the conversation?
I said, I will loan you the money and you can pay me back. The agreement was he was going to pay me back as much as he could every week, $25, $50 until it was paid off.
The computer was originally to be used in my work, my business, and that's where everything had happened. She had felt bad about breaking my computer, therefore she bought me the new computer.
Well, don't tell me what she felt. Did you have a discussion with her about payment for the computer?
No, she said I broke your computer, so I'm going to get you a new one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why would you indulge yourself advancing him another $200 to put him another $200 in debt to you to get something that was whimsical, like a tattoo?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Corey Sheamus is suing former boyfriend David Sommer for a computer and a tattoo.
Did he make any payments at all?
He made one payment of $50.
When?
Probably a week or so after it was initially purchased.
What did you give her the $50 for?
That's all I had. I figured if she's going to buy me a computer, I may as well give her what I have for it.
You sent that 2 weeks later.
No, the money I gave her was that day that we purchased the computer.
So you didn't send her anything afterwards?
No, it was that day.
That's not correct. When we went to purchase the computer, he paid $50 or $60. He put, that's what he had on him. I had paid for the rest. And then it was a week or so, a few weeks later, he gave me $50.
I wasn't working. I had no source of income. There was no way that that was possible.
He gave me $50 a couple weeks later.
What did he say when he gave you $50 a couple of weeks later?
At that point, I believe we were still dating, and he said, I have some money. He was planning on paying me back. He'd even told me he's planning on paying me back. Whenever he had a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there, he was going to pay me back.
All right, now let me hear about the tattoos.
I decided that I wanted to get one, and we decided we were going to go get one together, and he said that he was going to have the money at the end of the week.
So what did you say?
So I said, I will loan you the $200 for the tattoo. We'll get them, and you'll pay me back at the end of at the end of the week.
If you knew he had no money for a computer, why would you indulge yourself in advancing him another $200 to put him another $200 in debt to you to get something that was whimsical, like a tattoo?
Because I was afraid I'd chicken out on getting the
Then
tattoo.
that's what you wrote here. Then that's your problem.
But
no.
Your Honor, I also have internet messages back and forth and emails from David.
Let me see.
And you'll see on those internet messages, he says, I'm a man of my word. I hope you're recording these messages. I plan on paying you. I'm just not working.
Just a second. Could you show this to the defendant, please?
I have an extra copy. Do you want me to?
No, let him just look it over briefly. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am, but she also does not have, I don't have them either, but copies of harassments towards me. This was after the harassments.
Just a second, sir.
Yes, sir.
Were you in the privacy of your own home when you had this conversation
Yes, ma'am.
with her? So you weren't being harassed at the time? Nobody was holding a gun to your head, is that right?
No, ma'am.
And you had this conversation where you clearly say to her, you'll get your money, but right now you can't get blood from a stone. I'll give it to you when I have it. You want me to give you some other quotes?
No, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Sheamus, you acted foolishly. Foolishly because at the same time when he didn't have enough money to buy something that he needed for work, according to him, you decided that you wanted to have a tattoo. And it couldn't wait.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Based upon your correspondence, sir, these were loans, not gifts.
Before this, I was receiving phone call after phone call, emails, instant messages. I want money, I want money. My mama told me, just tell her you're going to pay her and get her off your back.
That's not what that says, sir. This is a 4-page dialogue. You should have listened to your mother. You should have paid her. Because there's nothing like a woman that feels as if not only has the relationship expired, but it's expired, and she's $600 out with a tattoo, no less. Can I have the evidence back, please, Bert? Now, my only problem, Mr. Sommer, is she's suing for $550. According to you, you owe her $600. She says that you gave her a check for $50 2 weeks after the computer was purchased. You say you never sent her such a check. You think she's wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then you would owe her more than she's suing for.
No, I paid her the day of. I gave her $60.
In any event, Ms. Sheamus, he doesn't get it. You're only suing for $550. That's what you say he owes. He would like to pay you more, but I can't let him do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $550. That's all.
Connie Ray Gibson is suing his uncle, 35-year-old Anthony Gibson, for stealing his gold chain and medallion after they had a fist fight.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 66 on the calendar in the matter of Gibson versus Gibson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Gibson, the defendant is your uncle.
Yes, ma'am.
You claim that an incident occurred, that he assaulted you, and during the course of that assault, he ripped a necklace off of your neck and took it.
Necklace and medallion.
Tell me how that happened, sir. And first tell me when.
March 1st. I went over to my auntie's house, and he was over there. When I found out he was over there, he tried to shake my hand. We had got into it about a couple weeks before this previously.
You mean you had an argument with him?
A couple weeks before, he busted out her windshield, my girlfriend's windshield out of her car. So we were already on bad terms. Of course, he paid for it, but we were already on bad terms because
Why did he do that? Why did you bust out the windshield on her car?
We had a confrontation. Me and this guy, my nephew, we don't see eye to eye whatsoever.
No, but why did you break out the windshield on her car?
We was fighting. And as he always have done, you know, as a coward, he sucker punches and runs and all this old kind of shit. And I couldn't get to him, excuse me, but I couldn't get to him. I couldn't get to him, you understand me? So I did the next thing, and I broke the window. I don't have no reason to lie whatsoever.
Had you been drinking?
Yes, I had been drinking.
Gotcha. Okay, now on this occasion, you went over to your aunt's house. He was there, and what happened?
He tried to shake my hand like he always do after he does something dumb.
So we tried to make up.
Yeah, and I shook him. I went and I called my girlfriend. I told her to meet me. I left out the house to go meet her out in the driveway. She pulls up. He comes out. He had been drinking that day. He comes out, follows me to the car. He comes up. He's like, "Oh, Nana, give me a ride to Crenshaw. Give me a ride to Crenshaw." I'm like, "She not giving you a ride."
Lie.
I'm like, "She not giving you a ride nowhere." Matter of fact, just step back a little bit. So he walks around.
No, I'm going to let you tell me your side of the story, sir.
He walks around to the passenger side of the car and tries to get in the car.
Okay.
That's when I walked around the side and slammed the car shut and was like, "Man, back up off the car." And so then he takes his glasses off. He's like, "Oh, you think you bad? You think you bad in front of your girlfriend?" I was like, "Uncle Tony, back up on me. I don't want no problems. Just leave me alone." He started walking towards me. We start fighting.
When you say fight, you were punching or shoving, or what were you doing?
Fighting.
Really
Brawl.
fighting?
Yes.
Fighting with your fists?
Fists, feet, everything. Fighting. So let me see, after that, I backed up. He slammed me a few times on the fence. I punched him a few times. My watch broke. I grabbed my watch. Now my uncle comes and he breaks it up.
Another uncle?
Yes. So he's trying to take my coat. I had a puff coat.
What's a puff coat?
A puff bomber coat. Yeah. So he got my coat in his hand. This is after we done fought like 2 or 3 rounds already. So he's like, "Man, I'll take your coat. I'll take your coat." I'm like, "Man, you ain't about to take nothing." So he's walking away, and my uncle Gangster is like, "Man, give him his coat." He gets the coat back. I got my coat. I'm walking away with my coat. He's still coming at me. So I turn around. I'm like, "Oh, you ain't had enough?" So we start fighting some more. So before we start fighting, he says something like, "Man, I'll take your chain." I'm like, "Yeah, right. Ain't nobody about to take nothing." So we start fighting again, and somehow he goes in my shirt and rips my chain and medallion off. So now I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe he done ripped my chain and medallion off." I'm like, "Give me my man. Why you tripping? Why you got my chain?" He like, "Man, it's mine now. I took this." I'm like, "You ain't take nothing." So puts it in his pocket. We fight and fight and fight. This fight must have went on for like 20 or 30. We would stop and rest, be out of breath, and fight some more. So finally, after I turned around and started fighting him like the 3rd or 4th time, my uncle Gangster is like, "Well, y'all do whatever." His name is Gangster.
Your uncle's name is Gangster?
Yeah.
His mother gave him that name? Or is that just what they call him?
We gave him that name.
What's his name?
Gangster.
Okay, so Wayne came out and broke up this brawl.
Yeah, he broke it up one time. He usually break it up every time we fight. He usually break it up. But this time, after I start fighting him again, he was like, "Well, y'all do whatever, just don't come in the house. Y'all keep this out here."
And where's your chain?
In his pocket.
Okay.
It's in his pocket. So I'm trying to get it out of his pocket. So we wrestling and fighting and everything. And finally, When I almost got it out of his pocket, I could have choked him out. One time I'm on his back. I was behind him. I could have choked him out. I'm like, Uncle Tony, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to hurt you, man. I ain't trying to get hurt. Just give me my chain. And he just still, he was drunk, you know, he was drunk. He was just going through it. So finally I let him go. Then he took the chain out of his pocket and put it in his shoe. Now I had a few other witnesses that were going to come, but somehow they got scared out of coming.
So what happened after he put your chain and the medallion in his shoe?
I said, look, man, give me my chain or I'm going to hurt you for real. It's going to go to another level. He was like, man, do what you got to do. So it was a champagne bottle about somewhere in the gutter laying down, and I went and got it. I cracked the bottle, and I went after him, and then my Uncle Gangster, they let him in the house. Well, they let him in the gate. They say they didn't let him in the house. But my aunt and uncle always, they're the only ones in the family that can control him. So I figured that they were going to get my chain and medallion. So after he went in the gate, I was like kind of relieved because they had him. So I went home. And then the next morning, I talked to my little cousin. They told me there was a girl named Kim he sold a chain to. So I don't know what happened to the medallion, but they know.
Mr. Gibson, had you been drinking that day?
No, I haven't. Not that day.
Talking about that day.
Not that day, I haven't.
How old are you?
31.
How old is he?
About 50, I don't know.
Old.
Not that old. No. He's a couple years older than me.
How old are you?
35.
35. So if you knew he was drunk, and you say he was drunk, right?
He's always drunk.
So he's always drunk.
I stay away from him.
Just listen to what I'm saying to you.
When I seen him in the house, I left.
Listen to me. If you know he's drunk, and he's acting like a fool, why don't you just leave?
I did.
No, you said you fought with him. You took time. You rested. This thing lost 20 minutes and 30 minutes, and you rested. You got to yourself, and then you went back and you duked it out again, and then you
started fighting.
Why didn't you just leave? Get in the car. Leave. When Uncle Gangster came out, say, hold on to him. I'm getting in my car, and I'm leaving. I'm just talking about common sense.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Anybody in my family knows me. I'm a crook, yes. I have stolen. I'm not trying to paint no pretty picture here. I'm not trying to make you believe that I'm somebody that I'm not.
He got a chemical imbalance, too.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Johnny Ray Gibson says during a fist fight with his uncle, Anthony Gibson, a gold chain and medallion were ripped off his neck. Johnny claims his uncle sold the jewelry.
Where's his chain?
I don't have his chain.
No, I know you don't have it now. I asked you, where is it?
I did not take his chain.
I know where it is.
Judge Judy. I didn't take his chain.
I know
Me and the man got into a fight, true and all. Okay? I left my sister's house. She was in the driveway.
Why'd you leave this?
No, Mr. Gibson. See how quiet he was? That's how quiet you have to be.
He was in the driveway talking to his girlfriend. Okay, yeah, I had been drinking. So I had to go to...
Why do you drink so much, Mr. Gibson?
It wasn't that much.
He got a chemical imbalance, too. He can't even handle this.
Why had you been drinking so much?
I had not been drinking that much.
What time of the day was this?
It's like about 9 in the evening.
All day. He'll start
But I had not been drinking all day. Okay? Yes, I had been drinking, and I was a little wobbly. So I said, I was attempting to ask Nina to take me to Crenshaw.
After you had busted the window out of her car?
No, this is a other, that's an old...
But this was after you had broken the window out of
Yeah, and paid for it.
9 days.
This was after I broke out the window and paid for it and replaced it and everything else. You know what I'm saying? I've been a stand-up man all my life. If I do wrong, I pay for what I do wrong. But I'm not going to be falsely accused. But at the same time, in essence of this here matter, okay, I attempted to ask Nina for a ride to Crenshaw. Johnny came over from where he was talking to her and pushed me. Went back over to her side of the car, okay? When I walked over to ask Johnny why did he put his hands on me, Johnny socked me in the jaw. Nina said, no, don't do that stuff, you know what I mean? Don't do that. She started up her car and left, okay? Me and Johnny, we got to fighting. We wrestled to the ground a couple of times. When I came up off the ground, I noticed that my watch was gone and my wallet, okay? It was 5 other people out there. I can't assume who picked up my wallet or my watch or what have you. Whatever this man is accusing me of, taken from him I did not take. You know, I have a drug history. I used to smoke cocaine. You understand me? I done drank, and I still drink. You understand me? But that was my past. I don't smoke cocaine no more. I just got out the penitentiary on the 2nd of June. I've been out on the street 11 months. I have not broke no laws. You understand me? Me and this guy do not see eye to eye. Me and his daddy have had animosity against one another. I guess he feels he has to step up and be his dad's son and challenge me on every aspect that he gets a chance on. You know, I whooped him, as an uncle should do, to him disrespecting me. Well, okay, he can say he whooped me. Okay, yeah, okay, you whooped me, whatever. It don't matter. He's lying. I did not take a medallion. I did not take a gold chain. If I took a gold chain, if I took a medallion, I'd say, yeah, I took it, punk. Just like that, because that's how I am. Now you get it back the best way you can. I did not take nothing from this man. Anybody in my family knows me. I'm a crook, yes. I have stolen, but I will say I stole it.
Thank you.
I took it. I'm not trying to paint no pretty picture here. I'm not trying to make you believe that I'm somebody that I'm not. I didn't take nothing from this man.
How many people were outside when you were brawling?
About 5 or 6 other people out there, gangbangers, known gangbangers.
Yeah, and they would have came
known
too.
gangbangers. That's why they didn't come up in here to witness. They ain't gonna come and testify to family altercation. Be for real. You know any crooks gonna testify against a crook? Huh?
You say that he sold this medallion.
Yes, ma'am.
To Kim.
She's in jail.
Another crook. See?
Who told you that he sold it to Kim?
My little cousin and her mama.
And why didn't she come and tell the judge that I did that there?
My family is...
Yeah.
Just a second. And her mother?
Yes.
What's mother's name?
That's one of my older sisters.
Okay. And what's their phone number?
You're scared now.
Now, they're the ones that told you that he had sold this to Kim?
Let me.
No, she said. Oh, excuse me.
Let me tell you something, Judge Judy. Our family, we got one of the biggest family in Inglewood. The next morning when I woke up, everybody in the whole family knew that he had sold it to Kim. You know, it was just those were the ones that.
I want to know. You told me that
they were the ones that told
you.
me. They're the ones that told me, but it was a known. My daddy knew.
Just a second. You're telling me that was the one who told you?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you supposed to be taking medication?
I used to, you know, but I don't need it anymore.
She's crazy.
Shh. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Johnny Ray Gibson says during a fist fight with his uncle, Anthony Gibson, a gold chain and medallion were ripped off his neck. Johnny claims his uncle sold the jewelry.
Okay, so I spoke to both and Johnny says, sir, that she did discuss the chain with you the next day, but that it was you who told her that the word in the family was that he had sold the chain to Kim. She didn't tell that to you, you told it to her. Now you want to tell me who else in the family had told that to you?
Let me just say something right now, Judge Judy. My family is not about to tell on him. You know, I come from a family of gangsters and stuff like that. I'm sure you probably, you know, can't really understand. But ain't nobody about to tell on him. But bottom line, he did it. He did that.
Did you make a police report? I'm just asking you. I mean, it's not a bad thing.
No, I didn't make. Ain't nobody. No.
So you didn't.
I
didn't think so, but it's my responsibility to ask.
No.
Okay. Where did you get this chain and medallion from?
I got the chain from Inglewood swap meet, but I got the medallion first when my grandma died. I went up north, and my little brother gave it to me. My little brother's like 21, 22. He gave it to me.
What does it look like? Is it a gold medallion?
It was a gold medallion with 31 surrounded by 31 diamonds. It was 2.45 carats.
Can I see it, please?
Okay. Here goes some pictures of it. There, there, there. If you notice in every photo, when I had it on. Where I was in my underwear, sleeping, I had it on. Just waking up.
How much did you purchase a chain for at the swap meet?
Oh, here's the receipt. I got them a chain. It was really little cheap chain, $170.
You work, Johnny?
Yes, I do.
Have you been working, Tony?
No, I'm on a fixed income.
From?
SSI.
What's the nature of your disability?
He's crazy.
Shh! I didn't ask you.
I don't function as well as other folks do, you know what I'm saying?
Especially when you get alcohol in the system.
Are you supposed to be taking medication?
I used to. When I was in Patton, I took some medication. I was taking Haldol and a Cogentin, you know, but I don't need it anymore.
You don't need it anymore because you feel as if you don't need it or because the doctor says...
They took me off of it. See, when I was in Patton, you know, it's a policy that you must take medication while in the hospital. That was due to one of my antics when I was, you know, doing things that I'm being falsely accused of here today. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm a saint, but I didn't do what this man is accusing me of.
Your Honor, if I may say something, his whole history, his whole MO is doing this, taking stuff from people.
Listen to me. Johnny, I want you to pay attention. Do you believe that a mental disability is a disability? That you're sick, just as sick if you have a mental disability than if you have a broken arm or a bad liver or a bad kidney?
This man is sane as me and you, Judge Judy.
You just told me a moment ago.
He's crazy, but
he's crazy
when he has alcohol in him. But I kick it with him when he ain't drinking, he cool. He just like him or any other.
But that's, listen to me, but then that's a problem.
I already know he got a chemical imbalance when he drinks,
right.
when he drinks.
So he was drinking.
That's why I left. I went right in,
but you got,
I walked right out.
Yeah, I know. But then you got into mixing it up with him, which you shouldn't have done, because if he's sick, if he's got a chemical imbalance, which is what you say, when he drinks, and you knew he was drinking, then you knew at that time he wasn't thinking clearly. He wasn't thinking clearly. It's just like any other illness, as if somebody hit him over the head and he was unconscious, because he's not himself. So then you, being straight, you were not drinking, you told me that day.
Yeah.
You just get away from it, but you got angry. That's why you mixed it up with him.
He broke the windshield 9 days before.
I understand that, but you told me he had been drinking.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Tony, listen to me. You get yourself into trouble when you drink. And according to you, you've been incarcerated at least once, right? Probably more. And you had a drug problem. And all of these things should suggest to you that you need some sort of assistance. You've been getting it from alcohol, you've been getting it from illegal drugs in the past. So if you should be on a Haldol, or you should be on some other kind of regimented medication, it's ridiculous for you, you know, to go through your life trying to find substitutes for what could very easily be a pill that you take 3 times a day. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. I think that your nephew here is just fed up. I don't think he did the right thing that day by not walking away.
I did.
But I believe that whether or not you remember it, you took his chain, something that he treasured. You paid $170 for the chain, and I'm going to give you $2,500 for the medallion. That's $2,670. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step up.
Marshall Sparks. Karen claims Marshall's 3 sons forced her 17-year-old autistic son to steal money from her home.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 283 on the calendar, the matter of House versus Sparks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. You folks have seats, please.
Mr. House, according to your complaint, you have a son whose name is Paul.
Yes, I do.
And the defendant has several children.
Yes.
One of those children is a young girl. What is her name?
Vanessa.
And Paul and Vanessa, who is not here, are friends.
Right, they were.
According to what I've read, your son was at home.
Yes.
And he wasn't supposed to have any company.
Right.
And Vanessa was there.
Vanessa wasn't there, the boys were there.
Our brothers came over, and you believe they stole money from you.
Correct.
And you found this out. You went over to the defendant's home.
Correct.
When you got to the defendant's home, the boys came back from a shopping spree at the local department store.
They had $100 worth of toys sitting there in a bag.
Well, you called the police at some point. Police came over and had a family conference. Is that right?
With my part of the family. The houses were not involved in that part.
And at that conference, you agreed to reimburse Mrs. House
Yes.
for the stolen money. How much did you agree to reimburse her?
I was going to pay back $600.
And you did, in fact, make some payments on that.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And then you stopped.
Yes.
Now, Miss House, what makes you think that the boys, his boys, stole your money?
Simple thing of it is that when he was supposed to come over, I went ahead and I said, I found out who got into this money. They said, yeah, we did.
Who said we did?
One of the boys.
Which boy?
The oldest one.
Who's the oldest? Step up.
And said, yes, I had your money, and we're having fun with it.
And he said this in front of you?
On the phone.
Talking to you?
Yes.
Is that right?
No, I didn't.
What did you say?
When she called my house and asked if we had her money, we told her that we didn't know what happened to the money. First we lied to her, then we told her the truth.
First you lied to her?
Yes.
What did you tell her when you lied to her?
We didn't have her money.
And then you decided to tell her the truth?
Yes.
So let's hear the truth, starting from you and your brother. Which brother?
Both of them.
Both of them. Went over to Paul's house.
No.
You never went to Paul's house?
He was at our house. He was at our house with my sister. We walked to his house.
So you did go to his house?
Yeah, but he was at our house first.
Fine. He was at your house first. Nothing got stolen at your house, right?
Not that I know of.
And then you went back to his house?
Yes.
Why?
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Well, let's try to think hard. What did you leave your house for? Your sister was home at your house?
Yes.
So Vanessa was home?
Yes.
And they're friends?
Yes.
Vanessa and Paul. So I want you to think back really hard. Why did you go back to Paul's house?
I think it was to get some clothes.
What do you mean you think?
That's what we went there to get, is to get him some clothes.
Why did all three of you have to accompany him to get clothes?
He asked if we'd go with him.
Step up next to your mother. So you went back to his house?
Yes.
And what happened when you got there?
We were sitting on the couch, and then we asked if we could have something to drink. He said, go ahead, and we walked into the kitchen, and we're going through the refrigerator, and he opened one of the drawers, and he grabbed a screwdriver out of the drawer, and he went to his mom's room and popped open the door, and we went inside, and then my little brother went around the bed, and he saw a box on the floor. My little brother asked what was in the box. He told us that his mom keeps their money in there. So he asked if we wanted to see it, and both my little brothers said yes, and he popped it open, and he got money out, and then he spread it around.
Spread it around how?
He gave us each amounts of money, like $100, $200.
How much did he give you?
He gave me $200.
How much did he give you?
He gave me like 200, but like I got some more money, like from like them and Paul, and I ended up with like 500.
So you ended up with 500, and you ended up with 200?
Yes.
How much did you end up with?
200.
That's $900, right?
Yes.
What'd you do with it?
We went back to my house. First we went to Circle K and we bought some stuff like candy, and he bought some roses for my sister. We went to my house and he gave the roses to my sister, and they did their kissing stuff. And then we all went to Kmart's. And? We bought stuff there.
Where's the stuff that you bought at Kmart?
They took some of the stuff to return it, and we didn't have none of the receipts. They went to try to return it.
You didn't have any receipts?
No, we got rid of them.
What'd you do with the money?
We spent the money that we had.
You didn't spend all $900 at Kmart.
Not all of it. Some of it that I kept, I had it hidden, and my dad went in my room and he got it. He went through my room and found it, and he gave it back to the houses.
Well, you only had $200.
Yes.
And is that the $200 that you gave back?
I did return $200 back to the houses.
Well, what about the others? They had another $700. What'd you do about finding that money?
I didn't actually really know about that money until I heard from the houses. All I knew about, when Paul came over with the money, all I saw was $200.
Well, now you know.
But
because your answer, Mr. Sparks, says, my children didn't steal anything, and I don't believe we owe them anything. But they did steal. Well, when was the first time you knew that they stole? Today?
When the houses came over and told me that there was $1,500 missing, they had brought Paul with them.
Okay.
And Paul's story to all of us was that the house got burglarized, and
everybody lied to cover themselves up.
Yes, ma'am.
But what I don't understand is, if you made an agreement with the police to pay them back, why didn't you pay them back?
I was on unemployment and I could not afford it.
Your boys hid the money in the house. Are you telling me you didn't get it from them?
All I recovered was $200.
Where's the money?
We gave it back.
To whom?
To them.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, because he had $200 hid.
You just told me you had $500.
Yeah, and I spent some of that. And we had some money hid in the room. And we gave it back to them.
No, he got the money from your older brother. $200 only. And where's the money that you had? You still have it hidden?
I spent.
You spent it all. On what?
We all spent it on just toys and stuff.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Paul, you knew it was the wrong thing to go into your mother's room, didn't you?
They forced me to. I knew they had a knife right in their pocket. I beat my dad so he can call the cops so they won't try to stab me or anything.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen House claims 14-year-old Tyler Sparks, 10-year-old Nicholas Sparks, and 13-year-old Nick Greenland forced her autistic son Paul to steal money from her home. Karen says the boy's father, Marshall Sparks, won't take responsibility for their crime.
Mr. Sparks, you have to pay him back the money. I mean, you say I was on unemployment, that I can understand, but here you say my children didn't steal anything. They did.
I believe the money would have gotten stolen whether my children were there or not. The houses have told me that this is not something that Paul has not done before.
So what? What kind of a lesson is that? So you say because... Look, let me try to draw an analogy for you. I mean, are you serious with that response as a responsible parent? Let's say you pass by a store and the proprietor of the store has forgotten to lock the door. And there are things in there that you would like. A little stereo set maybe, a clock radio, maybe a small television for your kitchen. And you say to yourself, well, this place is going to get burglarized. Clearly, somebody's going to go in and take property from there because the guy was stupid and he left his door open. And if they're going to burglarize it, some stranger, I might as well do it first. You think that the police would buy that argument?
No, ma'am.
Of course. So are you going to try to tell me again that, well, the money would have gotten stolen anyway, whether my son stole it or somebody else stole it doesn't make any difference?
No, I believe Paul would have stolen the money whether my children were with him or not.
But your children kept the money, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And they spent it, sir. And you didn't make a sufficient inquiry at the time to prevent them from continuing to spend an additional $700. I believe he was involved. There's no question he was involved, right?
Right.
And you bought your girlfriend some flowers?
No. I went with them to Circle K, and I seen some roses, and they said, well, do you want to get my sister some roses? So we bought one rose, and I went ahead and fixed it up where there was a vase on it.
Paul, you knew it was the wrong thing to go into your mother's room, didn't you?
Yes, they forced me to get in there.
How did they force you, Paul?
They went ahead and said, we will split you and my sister up. And at that time, I knew they had a knife right in their pocket because they showed it to me before we went to the house. And they did not go to get some clothes. They went there to think of snooping around my house and go in my niece's drawer, my room, and tried to think of a way to get me open it. At that time when they asked me to open it, I beat my dad so he can sorely call the cops and report it why I'm in there so they won't try to stab me or anything.
Did you beep your dad?
Yes, I did. He did not answer.
Is Vanessa in your class at school?
Yes, she is.
How long has Vanessa been in your class in school?
Last year and this year.
Is your daughter in a special education class
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well? What's her diagnosis?
Down syndrome.
And Vanessa is like your girlfriend?
Yes, she did go in the house before I went to their house. Because after we got from church, I was looking for tape and I did not want her to wait out there. I was being nice. And then when we got to his house, he asked me for a cigarette because I was trying to get my mom to quit, and I had some cigarettes in my room. And I'm trying to quit, though.
Do you smoke?
Yes, I'm trying to quit, though. And then the brothers went ahead and asked their dad, can I please go to Paul's house? And I was like, I did not have anything planned to go to my house.
Okay, Paul. Did you keep any of this money?
They put $100 in my pocket, but I did not spend it. I was trying to save it and hand it back to my mom.
Did you give it back to her?
No, they took it.
When did they take it?
Before I went to night church.
Was that the same day when you had all been in your mom's room?
Yes.
And they took the money back from you? Who took it back from you?
Lucas, the oldest one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Paul, why don't you sit down? Thank you.
Okay.
You getting the picture?
Yes.
You're not nice.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You ever appear before family court judge before?
Yes.
Was it a man or a woman?
It was a man.
Speak up!
It was a man.
Was he nice?
Yes.
Kind?
Yes.
I'm not!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old special needs student Paul House says his girlfriend's brothers forced him at knife point to steal money from his mother's home. The boy's father, Marshall Sparks, says Paul has a history of stealing money.
You been in trouble before?
Yes.
You on probation out of juvenile court?
No.
Were you on probation out of juvenile court?
Yes.
For how long?
90 days.
For what?
Burglary.
So you're on probation at the time police came to your house?
No, ma'am.
Had he completed his probation?
Yes,
when?
It would have been back in 1999, November, possibly.
You married, sir?
No, ma'am. Single parent.
You have 4 children?
Yes, ma'am.
These 3 and your daughter?
Actually, the middle child is like a stepson.
Explain that to me.
His mother and I are engaged.
Other than Lucas, have either one of these other 2 boys been arrested?
Yes.
Both?
Yes.
For burglary?
Shoplifting and burglary.
How much was taken from your house, Miss House?
$1,340
You got back 200.
and $2.
So what your outstanding is $1138.
True.
You better pay that money.
He put me through misery.
I'm going to tell you something. Aside from the fact that your sons are thieves, to suggest that they are operating on an even playing field with Paul is outrageous, Mr. Sparks.
I did not intend to make that accusation.
Well,
He
that's
kept
what,
on.
that's what it appears in your answer, sir. What you said was, I believe that Paul stole the money to impress my daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's not true. They stole the money because they threatened someone who is clearly not as competent as they are. Stand up. Uncross your arms, both of you, and stand up. Over there. Right here. You reach a certain point in your life when you take your hands out of your pocket, don't even think about putting it in your pocket. Did you ever appear before family court judge before?
No.
What?
No.
You?
Yes.
Was it a man or a woman?
It was a man.
Speak up.
It was a man.
Was he nice?
Yes.
Spoke nicely to you?
Yes.
Kind?
Yes.
I'm not! Because evidently, sir, that nice, kind, sweet family court judge made zippo impression on you. Because after you completed your probation, you went out and at least did one thing that I know about, which is this thing. So being nice to you didn't work. You got it?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Seems to me that your father has a very full plate. You ever been arrested, sir?
Yes.
When was the last time you were arrested? When you have to think it's trouble.
It's been a while. It was back in, I believe, October of 98.
October of 98 is not so long ago. I have food in my refrigerator that's older than 1998. So it's, believe me, it's not so long ago. What were you arrested for?
Child support.
I'm not talking about child support. I'm talking about for a misdemeanor or a felony having nothing to do with child support, sir. When was your last arrest?
Probably February of 98.
For what?
Disturbing the peace.
You reach a crossroads. Sometimes you reach it when you're 10, sometimes you reach it when you're 12, sometimes you reach it when you're 30. You can either have a life when you're a bum. You know what a bum is?
Yes.
Or you can be a good person. Right now, 3 of you are on your ways to becoming a bum. You, and you. You victimize somebody, that's him, who you know you can victimize because you're not nice people. And you should be more sympathetic because you have a sister who is also disabled. Right?
Yes.
How would you like it if somebody victimized your sister? How would you like it if somebody, because of her disability, took her to their house and sexually abused her? How'd you like that?
Be very mad.
So, you have a choice. And I certainly hope if you ever come before another family court judge, they don't do you a favor and be nice to you. They do you a favor and put you in jail. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of the complaint, which is $1,138. I hope you're very proud of your sons, Mr. Sparks. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Darren Trinchero for the return of money from an insurance settlement. Darren claims the money is his.
Mr. and Mrs. Martin, you purchased an automobile from the defendant, who was a friend of yours. And according to you, the agreement was you would make payments on this car because, I don't know, did you have a loan outstanding on the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at the end of, when the loan was satisfied, he would turn the title over to you. You maintained the car, you paid insurance on the car, and then the car was in an accident.
That's correct.
According to you, the defendant told you that he had received a small settlement check for the accident, but you were also injured in that accident.
Yes.
And when you received your settlement, you ascertained that he had received thousands of dollars for the car.
That's correct.
And you feel as if that money should be yours. Mr. Trinchero says he doesn't think so. So I need some information. When did you purchase this car, Mr. Trinchero?
Back in '04, and I do have a copy of that document.
I'd like to see it, please.
There you go.
You purchased this car September 14th, 2004.
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid $6,500.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you purchase the car from Mr. Trinchero?
In March 2005.
When in March?
March 3rd.
So, Mr. Trinchero, you had the car for 5 months.
Yes, ma'am.
How much were the payments?
$249.09.
And I have to add in your down payment, which was $1,500. So your entire investment in this car, Mr. Trinchero, was $2,745.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Now, you took over these payments in March of 2005.
That's correct.
And when was the car totaled?
November 13th, 2006.
And you were paying $249.09.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's figure that out. You see where I'm going, Mr. Trinchero?
Yes, ma'am.
So they invested in the car $5,229.
Right.
Now, how much of a check did you get for the car, sir, when the car was totaled?
The value of the car check was $4,900, which I have a copy of here.
Let me see it.
There you go.
Your Honor.
Shh, just a minute. $4,549.
Right. Yes,
What'd you
ma'am.
get this for?
That was for the balance of the car that was worth, because I was the lien holder on the car, the owner of the car.
Why should you get all this money?
Because during the agreement, back on 03 of 04, there were many stipulations to the contract, such as carrying insurance on the vehicle. Also, notify me of any address changes that they had or anything.
Oh, stop it. You're being a big baby and you're nitpicking, Mr. Trinchero. Mr. Trinchero, let me ask you this question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
If they finished paying off the car in 3 months and it hadn't been in an accident, would they have gotten the title?
Not if they would not have carried full coverage insurance. Like our
What
contract
difference
said.
would it have made?
Because I accepted liability for the car.
Just a second. Mr. Trinchero, did you pay for the insurance?
Yes, I did. I carried it till 2006, which was not part of our
Just a
agreement.
second. You paid for the insurance
Right.
until when?
From the beginning of the contract until 3/3 of 06.
3/3 of 06. The car was in an accident in November of 06.
Right, I had coverage on the vehicle at the time.
You just told me that you had coverage in the vehicle until March of 06.
Right, 3/3 of 06 was my
Well,
coverage.
March would be the third month of
Yes,
the year,
ma'am.
sir.
Uh-huh.
The accident happened in November.
Right.
Your Honor, we had the first 6 months that we had the car, that we were paying him an additional $50 a month to keep us on his policy.
Can I see that, please?
Well, this here is just the copies of the.
I just want to see any checks that are above. I'm speaking. The 24909.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I interject something there, please?
Listen, Mr. Trinchero, you're a hustler, and you did the wrong thing. And what you're supposed to do, since you got your finger caught in this miserable pot, you're supposed to say, you know what? Let's see if we can find some median. I shouldn't get a windfall over and above what I paid for a 10-year-old car.
Well,
right? Hey, pay attention.
Right.
I shouldn't get a windfall because a car doesn't appreciate in value. A car loses value.
Right.
So you put in $2,700. You got twice as much as you put in, and you're not entitled to it. You're here in a court of equity, sir.
Right.
And if you only put in $2,700, unless this car was a mint Ferrari, you're not entitled to make money on it. Do I make myself clear?
Right. I'm not trying to make money.
You are trying to make money on it because your whole investment was $2,745.
I believe I assumed liability for this vehicle, and I lost something because of that. And
Well, you
my
think wrong. Hey, Mr. Trinchero, you think wrong.
Okay.
You may have rationalized your bad behavior and your dishonesty with these people in your own mind because you laid there and you said, well, now they sent me a check because I'm on the title to the car. How do I justify not giving them at least some of this money? Well, let me see. They let Homer drive the car twice, and they weren't supposed to do that. They were supposed to keep the car in insurance and not take it out of the state. And I know they went on vacation once and they took the car to Florida. Hey, I'm speaking. That's what you did. You laid in bed and tried to figure out how you could justify being dishonest. And that doesn't fly here. You don't justify being dishonest when you come into a court of equity, Mr. Trinchero. Right. It's dishonest, and it was the wrong thing to do. What you should have done is said, listen, we got this money. You invested $52.29 in the car. I invested $27.45. The whole idea was for me to get off the hook paying for the car because I didn't want this car anymore after 5 months. You did.
Yep.
Because
That's not correct.
hey, listen.
Not correct.
If you didn't want to sell it to them, you wouldn't have sold it to them. Did you get another car, Mr. Trinchero?
I had another car before I sold it to them. And I had no use for this, and Greg had no car. Being a friend of his, I felt that it would be an equitable thing to do that. But he did not fulfill his end of the bargain in the contract, which I thought was legal.
You purchased a brand new car. Hey.
I thought this was a legal contract, and it was violated many times.
Then what you have to do if it was violated many times is take the car back.
Exactly.
Shut up.
And we did try to do that several times.
Which you did not do.
We took many actions to do that.
No, I didn't say did you take many actions, Mr. Trinchero. Did you take the car back?
We could not locate them.
Oh, you're so full of baloney, sir. You could locate them when you got the check. That you managed to locate them. When they got the check, you managed to locate them.
First.
Very, very bad, sir. I don't know how you sleep with yourself at night. I wouldn't want you to be my friend.
I don't see where he's entitled to any amount of the check from the insurance company that mailed him that check.
He's not.
Okay.
If he had been what we call a mensch, that means a good person, a good, honorable person, you probably would have sat down and said, listen, you got a little extra money. I'm going to get a little extra money because I put in $5,200, but I drove the car. I mean, you don't expect to get 100% value on your car if something happens. You might have made some kind of an accommodation. But since he was a pig, he loses everything. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount requested, $42.74. That's all.
Joanne Smithson claims her husband's cousin, Doris Smithson, attacked her, slamming her face into the dashboard of a car. Doris claims Joe troublemaker.
Ms. Smithson, you and the defendant are related to each other through marriage. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you. You want her to be responsible for your medical bills and whatever pain and suffering you experienced as a result of an assault. You say that the plaintiff was disrespectful to your father-in-law?
To my father.
To your father. And that what ensued as a result of her being disrespectful was really no more than a scuffle, and the plaintiff was not injured. That's
Correct.
your defense. You both live in the same town?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And what town is this?
Bethesda, Titans,ville,
Maryland?
Tennessee.
And how long have you been a Smithson?
27 years.
And you?
All my life. It's my maiden name.
Are there rich Smithsons and poor Smithsons?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I gather from these papers.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you one of the rich Smithsons or
Yes,
one of the
ma'am.
poor Smithsons?
I'm one of the richer Smithsons.
And you?
The poor Smithsons.
No, I got it. But I gather that the rich Smithsons and the poor Smithsons don't get along too well. So I want you to tell me your first name.
Doris Darnell Smithson.
And your first name?
Joanne.
I'm going to ask if you would allow me to be a little less formal because, first of all, Smithson is a tongue twister. And second of all, I want to be able to differentiate between the two of you. So would you mind if I were a little less formal? Is that all right? All right, Doris, tell me what precipitated this problem. I want you to explain to me.
Well, at the
what happened.
time, I really didn't know there was a problem. You know, there's always been harassment in the family ever since she's been in it, actually. But we've always got along with her because of my father's 92-year-old brother.
Okay. Now, your father's brother
Lives
is
with
her
her.
father-in-law.
Yes, ma'am. And it actually was me and her husband that actually had the argument.
Okay. Just tell me what precipitated the argument.
Okay,
There was a sale of property.
Yes,
An estate sale.
Estate sale.
And it was the estate sale of your father-in-law who was selling off personal property.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that so far right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I go up there in good nature. We talk good. I talked with Joanne. I talked with Sam Jr. about stuff that they still had to sell. And I asked them if they had any more of Mamie's stuff, you know, my grandmother's. And they said no. Then they were talking about a lamp that my father wanted. I have no idea about this oil lamp she's talking about. And I said, well, what kind of oil lamp is it he's wanting? And maybe I can get him one. And then Sam Jr. starts coming out discussing.
Sam Jr. is her husband?
Her husband. See,
Okay.
so this was really mine and Sam Jr.'s argument.
Okay. You and her husband got into an argument.
Me and her
over
husband got in an argument.
Over this missing oil lamp.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. So he starts just fussing and just really getting mad, and I'm just calm. I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. You know, you've always been the greedy one in the family, and he always has. He's always been different from all of us.
What day was this, Doris?
Our fight was April the 16th, so it was the Saturday before that. It was the 10th.
10th of April. That was a week before this altercation
Yes,
that you
ma'am.
had with Joanne.
Yes, ma'am. You
Go
know,
ahead.
so I left, and when I get home, he had called and said that my father went to their sale and left his lounge chairs. Him and my mother left their lounge chairs there.
Did they purchase these chairs?
No, it was their chairs that they
gave
took
them
to sit in at the auction. So the next day, my father goes up there to get these chairs, and she clobbers him, just literally clobbers him.
Okay. Would you step up, please, sir? Your last name is?
Smithson.
Mr. Smithson. Tell me what happened when you went to get your chairs.
When we didn't get the chair, it was on a Sunday. So I called Joanne and I asked, I said, we left 2 chairs up there. Did somebody get them or they're still out? She said, they're sitting out there in front of the barn. So I said, I'll be up there in the morning, which had been Monday morning. So I'll be up there around 9:30 or 10 to get them. She said, that'd be fine. So about 9:30, I went up there. I stopped right in front of the trailer at the parking place. And when I got out, my brother was sitting on the porch. And she come out, and that's when she started shaking her finger at me, cussing. And my brother got up.
What did she say to you?
She called me SB's, MF, you name it, she called it.
But she had locked his chairs up in her trunk and wasn't going to let him have them. Listen to me. You tell Darnell.
You listen to me. You weren't. Listen to me, Doris. You weren't there, and your father is doing just fine.
But finally, she come off my porch, and I said, Joanne, where my chair at? She said, well, you gonna listen to me first. I said, no, I didn't come up here to argue with you. I said, I come get my chairs. So finally, she got the chairs out of the car and rammed them up again and said, hey, these chairs. She said, let me tell you some others. We got the lamp, but the only way you get it be busted over your D head. And she said they're married, but Sam Jr. tell everybody they ain't married. So I don't know.
Well, that's not for me to figure out right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Smithson.
Thank you,
You may
Your
have
Honor.
a seat. What did you yell at him about?
I did.
Joanne, yes, you did. You did. I know you did. You know I know you did? Because I can tell when people are telling me the truth, and he's told me the truth. What were you yelling at him about?
I didn't yell at him, Your Honor. He came up to the front porch. That's when I went outside. And then I said, I've got something I need to talk to you about. And I said, I don't want to hear any more about this oil lamp.
Did you put the chairs in the trunk of your car?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because I was afraid that with these type of people we're dealing with, they could have said we stole them or anything.
Listen, do you understand what I mean when I say to you that I can tell when people are lying to me, Miss Smithson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You can tell by their body English, you can tell by their hesitation, you can tell by their shifting, you can tell. I can tell. That's my job. I've been doing it for 35 years. So I can tell that you just made up a story. You were terribly disrespectful to him. There was no reason for you to put his chairs in the trunk of your car. Absolutely none. Now who are you?
Amber.
You're the one with the oil lamp.
No.
Where is the oil lamp?
Well, the oil lamp that they're talking about, I have no idea what oil lamp they're talking about.
Well, let's say any oil lamp, Amber. Let's start with any oil lamp, and I want you to be very clear on this, my dear.
Okay.
I can tell when your mother's lying, and I can tell when you're lying.
Well.
So, let's get to this. Do you live at home?
No, I don't.
You live in your own place?
Yes, I do.
Do you have an oil lamp in your
No,
place?
I don't.
Any oil lamp?
No, I have no.
Have you ever seen an oil lamp in your mother and father's house?
I've seen several oil
How
lamps.
many?
10, 12, maybe.
Okay. Do you know of any ones that you've seen in your mother and father's home that belonged to your grandmother?
I wouldn't know if it belonged to her or not.
So what you're telling me is you know nothing about the oil lamp. All right. Now you can have a seat. You're very lucky. Where's his oil lamp?
This oil lamp does not exist.
Fine. Now, I've already made a decision that you behaved badly with Mr. Smithson. That does not excuse an assault if one took place, Doris. You have to understand that, too. So now, Joanne, I want you to tell me what happened on the 16th of April when you were getting some gas.
Okay. My husband and I went to a local market, Bethesda Market. I was sitting in my car, seatbelt on. My husband went inside to get us a cold drink because we was on our way to the flea market. Darnell comes behind my car and opens up the door.
The passenger door?
Yes. And I looked up, and it was Darnell. And after that, I don't remember the hit. There's several things I remember, some things I don't remember.
Do you have photographs of your injuries?
I have a diagram, photograph from the emergency room.
The answer is you do not have photographs.
No.
You have medical records.
Right.
Good, I'll see the medical records. Anybody have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I've got two. The day of the assault and also the revenge assault against me over the lamp that I was cleared of.
What?
The same day, she and her father took out a revenge warrant against me over a lamp.
I never heard of a revenge warrant.
Well, it is.
No, there's no such thing as a revenge warrant.
Then what is
They
it?
filed a complaint against you.
Okay. The same day that the assault happened.
Well, there is absolutely no issue as to whether you were assaulted or not. You were, in fact, assaulted.
Also, I was...
Shh.
Okay.
Mr. Smithson.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up here, sir. You filed a complaint with the police.
I did not.
Well, your daughter did. And the most important thing is that when the police officer questioned you, you told the police as follows, because this is in the police officer's own language. Mr. Smithson, that's you, said that when he returned home, that he told his daughter Darnell about Joanne's actions and abusive language and remarks that were directed towards him, that you told your daughter. According to Mr. Smithson, Darnell said that when next she saw Joanne, that she would whoop her. And from his testimony, she did. Did your daughter say that to you?
I didn't even see my daughter that day, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Whether it was that day or the next day, you told the police. You wouldn't have lied to the police, would you, Mr. Smithson?
No, I would not.
Either you told the police that she was going to whoop Joanne, or the police officer is lying. Which one do you think it is?
I'm not going to say the officer's lying, no.
Good. I'm glad you wouldn't say that,
I
Mr.
would not.
Smithson. Sit down now. Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, Doris, because you see.
Yes, ma'am.
I know when people are lying, like Joanne here.
Yes.
But I can read medical records, and I know she was assaulted.
But not $4,000 worth. I have one.
I want to
also
tell you
here.
something. Not $4,000 worth. How much do you think it's worth when somebody hits you in the face?
Well, I really never hit her.
Yes, you did.
All I did was just, she come out of her car. Nobody seen me hit her.
I didn't ask whether anybody. I saw the medical. Listen to me. I saw the medical records. She was hit in the face.
Okay. I was also scratched right here.
Did she go to your car?
No, I live right across the store. I'm going to the store. They're already there. And she hollers at me first, "Hey, you." And I said, oh, Lord, here's Joanne. You know, she starts coming out of her car. I calmly just set her right back down in her seat.
That's worth $4,000, madam.
Well,
because what you're doing is fibbing to me. Doris, A, medical records don't lie. Diagrams of her injuries don't lie. Listen, pay careful attention. Because you were angry that your father was disrespected by Miss Big Mouth over here.
Well, if she was hurt.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
Without any just cause. Because I do have a feeling that she's a troublemaker. I believe that. Yeah. Because I think that probably a lot of things that were sold, things that might have had sentimental value to both brothers, should have been, before you sell them to strangers, you say, listen, would you like something of Mom's? Would you like something that's been in the family for a long time? That's what decent people do, Joanne. And if you didn't do that, and if your husband didn't do that, that means you're not decent people. Do you understand? However, that doesn't mean you can put your hands on her. So, the fact that she disrespected your father, and the fact that you did say to him, next time I see her, I'm going to whoop her, the fact that you did it is going to cost you $4,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Timothy Glenn says ex-landlord Elena Chavez owes for an illegal eviction. Elena is countersuing for a security deposit, the return of property, and sexual battery.
Is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you ask the young man to wait outside until we're ready for him?
Sure.
If ever.
Come on. This way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Glenn, according to your complaint, you rented a room from Mrs. Chavez with your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And you claim that she unlawfully locked you out of the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
You suffered damages as a result of this unlawful eviction. You want returned your rent, a deposit, your moving expenses, and punitive damages.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Chavez says that she never locked you out of the apartment. You left, and she is counterclaiming for a variety of things: stolen property, damage to the apartment, and sexual battery, which she will explain to me. When did you rent this room, and why were you looking for a room?
My son and I were living in an environment that I felt was unacceptable for him. My work hours are late, and I wanted somewhere where I could consider him home at 12 years old. So I responded to an ad for a room for rent in a beautiful home, and I quote to you, cable, DSL, nice neighborhood. And I met Elena with my wife. And I told her that...
Were you and your wife living together?
No, at the time, no. I went through 17 months of self-employment and financial problems prerequisited her to move in with her parents, and myself and my 12-year-old son to move into a smaller residence. We had a condo.
Your son is not the product of this marriage?
No, no, ma'am.
So you were separated from your wife at the time?
Yes. And we left and had a good conversation with Elena the first time I met her. And,
when was that?
That was, I think, late May of this year.
When did you move into the room?
June...
About June 28th.
June 28th or something to that effect. She may have documents too.
Is that right? When did he move in?
He moved in July 2nd.
Do you have a lease?
Yes, ma'am.
I can see it, please.
This is for the first room, and this is for the second room.
How many rooms were there?
There were two. The first one, the 28th, the second, I mean, it's 4 days difference. When I had the conversation with Lynn and my wife concerning the potential rental, and my wife and I spoke about it, we thought it was a good idea, but I didn't have the capital. She wanted a month's rent and a month's rent for deposit. So I approached her again some days later and asked her if she'd be willing to rent to me with just the rent up front, and then we can make payments or something for the deposit. She hesitated not 1 second, absolutely. So my son and I, we moved into a small room that was very small, but it accommodated us. Nice house. We went into the other room after the fact. It was a much larger master bedroom. So.
Okay, how much was the rent on the second room?
$800 per month.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So you were in the second room, $800 per month, on or about the beginning of July, and you paid her how much?
She probably has receipts for that effect also. 7 something and.
Mr. Glenn, you knew you were coming to court today.
Right. My stuff is all over the place in storage and everywhere because of this.
Mr. Glenn, that's not my problem. That's your problem. You know you're coming to court. If your stuff is all over and you're talking about a couple of months ago, you get it. You get it together so that you have it.
I apologize.
Ms. Chavez, how much did he pay you when he moved in the beginning of July?
When he moved in the beginning of July, he gave me $600. The last payment he gave me to complete that was $200, supposedly $200, but he only gave me $150 of it, lacking $50.
Oh, $750 you received from him the entire month of July, and what was owing on that room was $800 for the rent. Is that right? The security deposit, how much did you receive for security deposit?
He never paid that, Your Honor.
Is that correct, sir?
Not during the month of July.
That's what I'm asking you. So the month of July, you never paid for the security deposit,
no, ma'am.
And you were $50 short on rent.
Yes,
now
ma'am.
let's get to August.
Okay.
How much did he pay you for the entire month of August?
$770.
So for the entire month of August, you were $30 short in rent, correct, sir?
Mm-hmm.
And how much did he pay towards the security deposit?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Is that correct, sir?
No, ma'am.
How much did you pay towards the security deposit in August?
In the month of August, I paid $80 to her on the 26th, and I think I paid her $172 or something down to my penny in the 1st of August. So it's about $250 and 20 cents, roughly.
For
deposit.
And an additional $770
for rent.
For rent.
Right.
Yes.
That's not true. I give him receipts when he gives me money, and
she gives me receipts like this sometimes also.
Just a second. In any event, there came a time, according to you, take your hands off your hips.
Yes, ma'am.
Came a time, according to you, in the month of August, that you told her you were leaving.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you tell her you were leaving?
August the 26th. I was paid by a side job that I did. I'm an auto mechanic. Fixed her car a few times and said, Elaine, let me give you $80, towards my rent because I'm going to be about $80 short. She took the cash money and she put it in her pocket and she said, Tim, I can't put that towards the rent. That's got to go towards the deposit. And I said, okay, understandably so. But if you do that right now, I won't have the rent complete on the 1st. And she goes, it's not my problem. I don't have nothing to do with it. So I told her, I'm going to move out on the 1st. I'll make other arrangements, okay? That was Saturday the 26th, I believe it was.
Okay.
Sunday, we go to court, my son and I. Court. We went to church, and when we walked out of church, I turned my cell phone on, and I received a voicemail from Elena, and I can't quote you exactly, but the gist of the thing was I've been crunching some numbers, and you owe me $290 right now, she told me, and until I get that money, you will not get back in the house, and you will have to take me to court for your property. This is the day before school starts, and I have a 12-year-old boy, all right? So I called her based on that voicemail, and I said, do you want to call the sheriff, or do you want me to call the sheriff, because I've paid you all the rent for this month. I gave her $80.
Well, you hadn't. You were still shy. But she is still required to go to court to evict you.
So she says, okay, you know what? You call them if you want to. So I call the sheriff. 40 minutes later, they show up. I take my cell phone out. I play the voicemail for the sheriff. She said in the voicemail, until you pay me the money, you're not getting your stuff. The sheriff said, I can't touch this. But if you want to go knock on the door, I'll stand there to effect the peace, okay? So I approach the door and I knock, very lightly. Okay, there are people there, and Justin's mom was there also. He's one of the witnesses for her. And no one answers the door. The sheriff then decides to knock on the door herself, somewhat louder. Okay, we know we've gotten attention at this point. No one will answer the door. Then the sheriff decides to take the flashlight. Knock, knock, knock. She's getting angry, the female deputy, all right? We see Elena through the door window go upstairs quickly, and she won't answer. Sometime later, Elena comes to the window and says, who is it that's knocking at my door? And she said, this is the sheriff's department. Ma'am, I need to speak to you. And she said, go ahead. And she said, I need you to come to the door. And she goes, I'm not going to open the door for him. And she said, why not? And she said, because he owes me money. And the sheriff's department said, do you have an eviction papers? Do you have anything like that you can show me? And she goes, no, but he owes me money and I'm not letting him in until he pays. Justin's mom comes to the door to come outside of the house, and she walks out. When she does, the deputy puts her foot in the front door, and Elena tried to close the door on the deputy, and the deputy said, I'm not having that, and she bowled her way into the house. I think you'll get a chance.
Do you think I need help?
I'm sorry. You have to understand what I've been through. I apologize.
Go ahead.
This is unbelievable. The deputy then forced their way into the house, at which point Elena became completely irate. Just unbelievable. She almost sat on the ground going nuts. She told them I stole money from her. She told them that I broke her gate and that I exposed myself to her and her 2 children, all right? At this point, I thought about it for a moment and I said, I don't even want back in this house because I can't leave my boy here. Who knows what she's going to do?
Do you have a police report?
They did not make a police report.
The answer is you don't.
No, they didn't. Here's the case number if you want to call them and verify.
Do you have a police report? I'd like to see it, please.
Okay.
You see what they both have.
So the watch commander looked at me and he goes, do you want to be here? And I said, no, but I want my stuff. And he goes, well, you know, go get your stuff. So I went upstairs and started to get my stuff. And the whole time I've got my cell phone on, my wife is listening to it on speakerphone the whole time. And the watch commander said, can you prove this to me, what you just said? And she goes, yes, I can. She goes, Justin, Alex, and that's these 2 guys here. And they come downstairs with their hands in their pockets looking at the ground. And he goes, this woman says that he exposed himself to her and her kids. Can you testify to that? And Justin and Alex both looked at him and went, nope. And he said, ma'am, I don't want to hear anything else from you. I want you to sit down and let him get his stuff. And I left.
And did you get your stuff?
I got all of it, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And as I left, I gave Justin, in the presence of Kareem, everything that belonged to Elena, the wireless modem, the stereo pieces, the leather jacket I still owed money on, even some chairs that belonged to another renter.
What leather jacket that you still?
A leather jacket I was buying from her. I gave her $10 out of 50, and I had forgotten it in my closet, but as I was moving, I saw it. In his presence, I gave everything that belonged to her to him. And if I still have anything else, it's because I forgot it. I'm not taking nothing from her.
Put your hands down. Put your hands down.
This is just unbelievable.
So I have a few direct questions to ask you, Ms. Chavez. Did you leave a message on Mr. Glenn's cell phone on or about the 26th of August?
No, it was on the 28th, Sunday 28th.
And what did you say in the message on his cell phone?
That he needed to pay at least the $290 and that I wasn't going to open the door. He doesn't have keys because he lost them. And I told him, I'm tired of being your door person. He's broken my gate trying to get over the gate to get into back to get in the house.
What,
and I told
listen,
him,
I asked you what you said
that he
on
needed
the
to
voice.
pay that to get in the house and that I wasn't going to open the door if he wanted to come in.
Listen to me. You cannot do that. You cannot lock him out. You cannot prevent him from entering. That's an illegal eviction. You cannot do that.
I wasn't doing
yes, you were. Ms.
Your
Chavez,
Honor.
you absolutely were.
I didn't change the locks.
I don't care whether
I
you
didn't do
changed the locks.
anything.
Listen to me. I read the police.
If he went and got his
I'm
keys, he could have come in.
I'm speaking. You were home when the police came to your door.
Yes, I was.
You refused initially to open the door for the police.
For him. The police had to open
Ms. Chavez! You refused to open the door for the police. You cannot do that. Now, when the police finally were able to gain entrance to your house and speak to you, what was the first thing that you said to them?
I said I would let her in, but not him. And she said, fine, I just want to come in. So she came in, and we started talking. And she asked me what was going on, and I explained it to her.
The first thing that you told the police officer as to why you weren't letting him in your house.
Because he owed money, and I was trying to make an attempt to get him to pay some of it.
Okay. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. Take your hands out of your pockets.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Your counterclaim is that A, he owes you for rent. B, he stole property from your house. You were unclear in your answer as to what property he stole. You want to tell me now?
Yes, he took with him 2 towels, a rug, a VCR that I had loaned him. He never returned it. The cable transformers and the modem key that was given to him by charter. He never returned those things.
Okay. Do you have any of those things?
Everything I thought was hers I gave to Justin, but I'm willing to look in my stores and see if I have the VCR still. I mean, you can buy a brand new 4-head stereo VCR for $20 at Walmart, right?
I got it. I got it. Okay, so that's a lot of baloney. It sounded like a lot of baloney to me because it wasn't even listed in your answer. But what you want the most for is you claim a sexual battery.
Yes.
You want to tell me about that, Ms. Chavez?
Timothy Glenn claims he was illegally evicted by former landlord Elena Chavez. Elena claims Timothy committed lewd acts.
Now, you claim a sexual battery.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The first time it happened was about the third week of July. We were in the kitchen, my roommates, Alex, Justin, and we were proceeding to have lunch. Everybody fixes their own thing. And he came in, and he's very, you know, happy, smiley guy. And he started talking about how easy it is for him to get women. And he proceeded to move his hips left to right with such force that his genitalia made slapping sounds, and he laughed about it.
Oh, my.
And I was like, totally grossed out, and I told him that it wasn't funny because he was laughing. He thinks it's funny.
What else, Miss Chavez?
And other occasions he's done it before. He's
Miss Chavez, you know you're full of baloney.
Yeah. I'm not.
Hey, quiet. You want to go to the theater? Go to a movie. It's a court.
He did this. Okay.
Listen to me. If he did it, and if you were so offended by it that you wanted to terminate his lease, I'm speaking. You give him 30 days notice in July, which is when you say this happened, and say, I cannot have that kind of behavior in my home. You chose not to do that, so I cannot believe, I'm speaking, so close your mouth, put on your listening ears. You chose not to do that. What you chose to do was to allow him to stay there and then illegally lock him out. And when push came to shove, you resurrected this baloney to justify your illegal activity. And what I'm telling you is, you cannot do that. And it's a terrible thing to say about somebody, especially somebody who is the custodian of a child, especially that. Put your hand down.
I am.
Put your hand down. In addition,
in front of them, and not more than once.
Listen to me. You had an option. Your option was, I'm speaking. It's irrelevant that you spoke to him. If the conduct was so offensive to you, you give him a 30-day notice, which is your right. He is a month-to-month tenant, and he would have to leave. You chose not to do that. You chose, after this happened in July, according to you, I'm speaking, lease. Put on your listening ears, you chose, according to you, to accept rent in August, according to you, of $770. And if the conduct so grossed you out, all you had to do in July was say, I want you out. You chose not to do that. So I disbelieve how grossed out you are by any of his conduct. You cannot do what you did. And especially sexual nature with regard to someone who is a custodial parent, very bad. And I also gather from your answer, because he's got a complaint, that you called his son's school. The very day he moved out, you called his son, I'm speaking, you called his son's school to say that he was no longer living at that address. What was the reason for that?
The document states that I have to do that.
Oh, show me. Show me the document that states that you have to call the day after he moves out.
I called 3 days
Show
after.
me. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Glenn, this form that she has indicates that she has to advise the school within 3 days if you've changed your residence.
Okay, well, that's not all she told the principal.
Well, I don't know what she told the principal unless you have the principal here.
No, he wouldn't come.
Well, your allegation is that vindictively, and I guarantee you vindictively she made this call, but she is required to do it, and therefore I cannot in good conscience rule in your favor with regard to that part of your complaint. I think Ms. Chavez acted wrongly. I think she made an excuse for her behavior after the police told her that she couldn't evict you.
I agree.
She couldn't lock you out, and she said, well, you were a threat to her because you sexually battered her. You may have been guilty of poor judgment or poor taste in your storytelling, Mr. Glenn, but there is no evidence whatsoever of sexual battery. Is there? Right. Okay. Mr. Glenn, where did you go after you left her house?
Well, I went to Kareem Pardini's house that night. We didn't know where we were going to go until about 7 p.m.
Okay, so you went to somebody's house, you slept there. Where are you living now?
Right now, we're living next door to my wife in Altaloma. We're on the way back again, and it's great. I mean, everything's coming together.
Well, that's fine. So it worked out reasonably well, but I believe that you have to be compensated, not just because she refused to allow you in, because ultimately what you said was, I'm afraid to leave my son here because she's acting like a nut. Hey. So I'm going to take my son and go elsewhere because I can't leave him here, and she acted improperly.
Whether it was
I
a
believe,
motel
I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
I believe the fact that she told the police this baloney story about sexual battery is worthy of compensation. And it's worthy of compensation because of who you are, because of the fact that you are a custodial parent. And I don't think that she has the right to use that as an excuse for her illegal behavior. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Marcia Lambert claims her mother's neighbor, Tammy Kedward, owes for spray painting vulgarities onto her car and punching her in the face. Tammy claims Marcia was sleeping with her husband. She is countersuing for emotional distress.
Miss Lambert, you were having a romantic relationship with the defendant's husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this was the husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
This was about a year ago?
A little over a year, yes, ma'am.
Miss Kedward lost it with you one day, came to where you were staying, and assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
She admits that she assaulted you. She also admits that she pled guilty to a simple assault, and she received a fine. Her defense to your action for damages for both your medical bills and your pain and suffering is that you weren't injured. She is counterclaiming for her medical bills, she says, because you've caused her a lot of stress. When did you meet Miss Kedward's husband?
About July 9th of 2005.
Where?
At my mother's house.
What relationship does he have with your mother?
They're the next door neighbors to my mom.
Were they both living together at the time?
Yes, they were.
Well, when did you start a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
After he told me that he had asked Tammy for a divorce.
But they were still together?
Sort of, kind of.
They were still living under the same roof?
They were living, yes.
Big mistake on your part. Big. When did you start the relationship?
What exact date?
Yeah.
That it turned romantic?
Yes.
Was August 28th of 2005.
So it didn't take long. Now, when did Miss Kedward assault you?
On August 31st.
Tell me about it.
I was over visiting my mother. My car was parked in the back driveway. She came over and spray painted my car with some obscenities and bright orange paint. I saw her do it. We went back inside to call the police. She knocked on the front door, asked me to come outside. My mother came outside with me. She was yelling all kinds of profanities. And
That's not true.
And I was standing between her and my mother tried to explain some stuff to her, and I was looking at my mother. She reached over, grabbed the back of my hair, yanked, jumped on top of me, punched me, blood went everywhere. Meanwhile,
punched you where?
In the nose, and then punched me again in the cheek. Meanwhile, my mother managed to pull her off of me, and my 82-year-old grandmother was standing on the porch calling the police.
And you were arrested?
No.
Taken into custody?
No.
Did you press charges?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Miss Kedward, why don't you tell me what happened on the 31st of August?
I drove up from work. I got out of the car, and she came out of her mother's house and said
that
something.
Is a lie, Your Honor.
Listen to me. I cut her off when she interrupted you. Don't speak until she's finished. Go ahead.
I got out of the car, and she came out of the front door and said something that I didn't understand what it was that she said. Nevertheless, she said something. And I just went inside, and I called my husband, told my husband that she was saying something to me.
But you didn't know what?
I didn't know what. It was something.
Well, why would you, just a second, Miss Kedward, why would you call your husband if she said something that you didn't understand?
Because I had found out 3 days prior that there was something going on between them.
Okay, did you confront your husband with it?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me the truth. He told me that they were having a relationship, but that it was more as a friend relationship, that he didn't say that it was not intimate. He just told me that basically they had been doing a lot of talking on the phone.
So when you came home on the 31st and you claim Miss Lambert said something to you, called your husband, and your husband said what?
He said, look, I don't know what's going on. Why don't you just go over there and talk to her about it, and y'all figure it out, and then you call me.
Is that what you said to her? Why don't you just go over there and ask her? Just that's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
That was the first time that I ever thought of going over there.
So your cheating husband tells you to go over to the woman's house and to talk it out with her.
Yes.
And you'd listen to him.
Well, it's not that I listened to him. It's more that I thought, go over there. Sounds like a great idea. Why don't I just go over there and find out exactly what she said? And it was probably not the greatest decision in the world. But
well, first thing that you did, you went over and you sprayed her car, because that you paid for, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you painted her car before you went to ask her.
Correct.
What she had said that you didn't hear.
Right.
And then what happened?
I went over and
You sprayed her car.
I sprayed her car, went back inside and...
Back inside where?
My house.
What happened to speaking to her and about finding out what happened?
That was after.
So then you came out again, worked up a really good mad.
I was infuriated, to say the least.
Fine. So you came out.
I had asked her numerous times, very nicely, please leave my husband alone.
Why didn't you ask him?
I asked him.
So, and what did he say?
She was the instigator.
Stand up. How tall are you?
6'3",
How much do you weigh?
260,
What do you do for a living?
mechanic.
Strong?
I guess so.
Can you walk around?
Yes.
You can walk away from her, can't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. Get what I mean? Shh. Get what I mean?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And
yeah, listen. There's only one person that owes you the responsibility and the respect and has taken a vow.
You're exactly right.
That's him.
You're right.
Not her.
I felt like if she had any compassion or any feeling that she would have backed off and she would have had respect, at least for my child.
He's supposed to have respect for your child.
I understand that. I truly believe that he did make a bad decision.
Right. But so why did you go over? So you went over there, you assaulted her, and you lost it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, then you have to suffer for that. Okay, Ms. Kedward. What kind of consequence did the criminal justice system impose when you pled guilty to assault?
I had a fine of $341 and a Class C misdemeanor.
Tell me about the surgery that you had 3 months later.
I had actually 2 surgeries to try to correct. I was having trouble breathing through the right side of my nose.
Can I see the medical report?
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
Honor?
Yeah.
She told my husband, he asked her the next day after the assault, are you okay? And she told him, it's no big deal. The same thing happened to me about a year ago when a girl hit me in a bar.
Okay.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Just a second. Let's say that's true. What difference does it make?
So what's to say if she had any surgeries that it wasn't to correct what had happened then?
It's possible it was. That doesn't leave you. That doesn't. Shh, quiet. That doesn't let you off the hook.
I understand.
She doesn't have to sue for any medical expenses. She can just sue for pain and suffering.
I understand.
Good. Okay, so the first study date in the emergency room was September 1st, and it did say previous surgical changes are noted. Okay, so you had previous surgeries in your nose. Is that right?
From 92.
Okay, good. Now, after this happened on August 31st, did you continue a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
Yes, I did.
For how long?
It actually ended August 1st of 2006.
I don't think that's true, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
that's a bunch of bull.
No, you were at my mother's house.
Shh, listen to me. Whether it lasted 9 months or 10 months or 12 months, it doesn't make any difference. It lasted beyond that. Was Mr. Kedward living with his wife during that time?
He went back to her the end of November of 2005.
Okay, but you continued the relationship with him months after that.
Right.
Not smart. What was he telling you all this time?
Just that he wasn't sure what he wanted and that they had a lot to work out if it was going to work and that he still loved me and he always would.
Well, Miss Lambert, why did you continue the relationship with him?
It's not the first time she's done this. I'm sorry.
Takes 2 to tango.
Yes, ma'am.
His feet work in both directions. If he's back with you and sweet-talking her, that's not a good thing.
Thing about it is, Your Honor, you say I'm strong physically. I'm assuming that's what you're asking. You know, what about mentally when you have a woman like this calling you all the time and not leaving you alone? Yay. Hey.
You don't really want an answer to that question, sir.
Well.
You don't want an answer to that question, Mr. Kedward.
When I asked Miss Lambert to leave my husband alone, my words to her were, for God's sakes, Marcia, I live next door to your mother. Please just stop.
She used very bad judgment.
She told me that she would be living next door to her mother.
Miss Kedward.
That's a lie.
She used very bad judgment, especially after he came home in November.
He never really left home.
Don't tell me he never really left home. Stop me seasick. Still.
Yes, ma'am.
He exercised very bad judgment. What he's trying to tell me is he may be strong physically, but mentally he's mush. That's just an excuse. What he's trying to say is, how can I withstand the wiles of Jezebel? That's ridiculous. If
That
you
was
bought it,
not what I
quiet.
was saying.
Quiet. There are all kinds of temptations in this world, madam. And you hope that when you marry somebody, that they're going to be able to withstand the temptations. And if they can't, it's their fault. It's not somebody else's fault. In any event, she's suing you for $4,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That, she said, represents her medical bills. You are clearly responsible for that. I want to hear about your counterclaim. You have 1 minute.
I went to the hospital that night and was in the hospital for 2 days following. I was extremely stressed out over the whole situation. I asked her repeatedly to leave my husband alone. She told me she would do what she wanted to do when she wanted to do it, and I lost it. And I have to admit that
I'm talking about your
I went to the
counterclaim.
hospital, and I was there for 2 days because of the immense stress that this, I don't even want to call her a woman, has put me through, that she continues to put me through to
What
this
about
day.
him? Why don't you sue him?
I married him for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in front of God, in front of all of our friends, and it's my choice to forgive him, and we have been through counseling.
Perfect. Listen to me. He's the one that owes you the responsibility of
And
doing
he's
the right
paid
thing.
me.
Doesn't she owe us to leave us alone?
I have. Excuse me?
Excuse me? Outside. Put him out.
Come on.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, sure.
I was under so much stress from the immoral actions of this person that I suffered a miscarriage. My child has had to be in counseling. I have had a lot of issues because of her, and to this day.
Because of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of them.
She instigated it.
Because you don't get it. You have to put it in your head. He owes you the responsibility of doing the right thing. She doesn't. He has a contract with you, moral contract and a legal contract. He violated the contract. And I would have very little sense of an obligation to mitigate your damages if Miss Lampert did not continue the relationship after November, when she knew that the two of you were trying to work things out. Miss Lampert fully understood that. From November until, she says, August of 2006, she continued a relationship with him. That's going to hurt you, Miss Lampert, because then you knew that what you were doing was interfering with a relationship, and there is a cause of action. It's a cause of action in common law called alienation of affection. That means you are contributing to alienating the affection of her husband, and you know what that's going to cost you? $4,000. So I rule in your favor on your lawsuit in the amount of $4,000. And I rule in your favor on the counterclaim in the amount of $4,000. Neither one of you are getting anything. That's it. Goodbye.
Billy Tyler says his daughter, Tiffany Cantrell, had him falsely arrested for stealing her car.
Mr. Tyler, the defendant is your daughter, and it is your claim that she had you falsely arrested for stealing her car. Your daughter says that you did exercise control over that car without her permission. She had every right to notify the police that you had, in fact, taken the car without permission. So let me start with you, Miss Cantrell. I understand that you are married.
Yes, ma'am.
Your husband is in the armed services.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is he currently located?
He's in Afghanistan.
And how long has he been there?
He's been deployed since October.
This car was originally purchased for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how it came about that your father got the car in his possession.
The car was on my grandmother's property, and he took it because he was angry that my mom had left him.
Where did you get the car from, Mr. Tyler?
Judge, I originally bought the car in Cleveland, Alabama at a car auction.
What do you mean you bought the car?
I was there to buy some cars, and my ex-wife had called her, and she came over to the auction. And she seen the car, and she said, I'd like to have this for Kevin, her husband.
Who paid for the car?
She did.
So that
She
she
wrote a
bought the
check.
car.
She
You
wrote-
didn't pay for the car.
No, she
Well,
wrote
you
a
said
check.
I bought the car
Well,
at an auction.
I
You
meant,
didn't-
Judge, that I was there to buy the car, and she wanted it, so I let her have it. That's how.
You were at an auction to buy several cars. Your daughter
Yes.
came with you. She saw a car that she wanted. She wrote out the check for it. So she bought the car.
Right.
Don't play
Right.
with me, Mr. Tyler.
Okay, I'm not, Judge.
I guarantee you it's not going to happen. Okay, so your daughter bought a car, and according to her, she parked it at her grandmother's house.
No, Judge.
Where was it?
It was in my yard.
So it was in the yard of the house where you were living.
Uh-huh.
Who were you living there with?
My ex-wife.
Anybody else?
My cousin.
What's the address of this house?
77, Highway 75.
And is that where the car was taken from?
No, ma'am.
Where was it taken from?
71 Highway 75.
That's where your grandmother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you live next door to your mother-in-law?
That's my mother, Judge.
Your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Was the car parked at her house at any time?
No, Judge.
Okay. How did it come about that you took control over this car?
When the car was bought, it was to be brought to my house to fix for Kevin. And at the time, Judge, they were going to pay for it to be fixed. And Kevin had gotten hurt and come home. And Kevin asked me when he was home if I would keep the car at my house until he came back and fix what it needed, and when I get home, I'll pay you for it.
Okay.
So we had a windshield put in it. When you walk out my back door, it was sitting right there with a car cover on it. Then, Judge, when my ex-wife left...
Okay, so you separated.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
It's a long story behind it.
Let's put it simply. Alton wanted the car.
To give to her mom, because I wouldn't let her mom
Just a
have
second.
one.
In whose name was the car titled?
Mine.
Yours?
And my husband's.
So she said, I want the car. I'm going to give it to Mama.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I had told her prior to this that me and Sammy was going to fix the car. He would do. He told me, he said, if you'll pay for the parts, I'll do the labor, and when Kevin comes home, we'll give it to him. And Judge, that's what I had in mind doing.
I don't care what you had in mind, sir.
She,
I don't care what you had in mind. I got the gist of it. You and her mother separated, and she said, I want the car to give to Mama.
Right.
I assume that's because her mother didn't have a car.
Right. And
okay, and you said no.
And not unless you pay me.
Okay, so now you want to be paid before Kevin came back from Afghanistan.
Well, if she was going to take it. Okay.
You had made an arrangement with Kevin that he would pay you for the parts when he came back from Afghanistan.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your contract.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you're changing the contract because now you want to get paid right away.
Well, the car was to stay there, Judge, till he came home.
No. It can go anywhere that the owner says it can go.
But he told me to keep it there until
But then you spoke to him again and he said to give it to her.
No, he called on the phone.
I said you spoke to him again and he said to give it to my wife.
If she pays.
No.
Yeah.
He said give it to my wife.
If she pays the labor to Sammy, not the parts. But just the labor.
Labor to Sammy has nothing to do with you.
Right.
What did you do with the car?
Well, a couple of days there, the car winded up. You could tell where it had tried to be broken into. Not for sure who done it. We took it and put it in storage.
Not we. You.
Well, me and my cousin. He had done the labor on it, Judge, and I'd paid for the parts.
Did you tell her where it was?
Yes, I told her I'd put it in storage, and when she paid us, she could get it. There was a labor lien against it. And she wanted proof of it, Judge, so I sent her proof of it.
Let me see what you mailed her.
And I'll speak, Judge.
No, now it's her turn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
When they sent this letter, they did send the letter, but it was not sent until after the investigator had called and spoke with him about my car.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I have the report. And
Can I
also,
see the report,
yes,
please? That's interesting, because you send her this ridiculous note that says, I have in my possession a Pontiac Firebird, and there is a $10 storage fee on it. And then you change the amount of repair bill. It looks like you put first it was $1,300, then it was $700. I don't know. Can't figure this out. And you say if you don't respond within 90 days, the car will be sold at public auction. Now this, I don't know what date this is, but she signed for it on May 23rd, because she allegedly sent this by certified mail. But she filed this incident report on the 16th of May, which is before you sent this letter to her. So the police contacted you. Put your hand down. Police contacted you and said, where's the car?
Probably.
Or they contacted Sammy.
No, they come out and contacted me.
Oh, there you go. And then you sent her this letter.
Judge, the officer, the day he came out, he wanted a copy of that letter. The day the officer come out and talked.
It's absolutely impossible, sir, because you dated this letter May 17th. That was the next day after the officer took this complaint.
Judge, he didn't come out the day he took the complaint.
I don't care whether he came out and took the complaint on that day or not. It doesn't make any difference, sir.
Okay.
What I'm telling you is, I got the whole story. You know what the whole story is? You were mad at your ex-wife.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't want her to have a car. Don't shake your head no to me. You were angry, you didn't want her to have a car, and you had worked on this car, and when your daughter said, I'm going to give this car to Mama to use because you're not giving her a car, you said, over my dead body, because I was going to give it to Kevin, but I won't give it to the woman who I've lived with for the last, I don't know, how many years, 30 years?
24, Judge.
24, and raised a bunch of children with how many children?
4.
4 children. I'm not going to give it to her because I don't like her. I like this stranger, now husband of my child, and I'd give him for nothing, but I'm not giving it to my ex-wife because who the hell does she think she is throwing me out?
You're right.
Well, that's too damn bad. You had no right. That's too bad, Mr. Tyler. Mr. Tyler.
She took it all and give it to a man one time. She ain't going to do it again.
Listen to me, Mr. Tyler. I don't know the reason after 24 years and raising 4 children with somebody that they say, I don't want to live with him anymore. I'm not going back over that. I don't know whether you were a good husband, whether you were not a good husband, whether you were a kind person to her, whether she was a kind person to you. I have no idea.
She's the one who left.
She may have had good reason. Let me tell you something about most women. And how old is your wife?
42.
Most women, if they have a loving mate, someone who cherishes them and cares for them,
Some of them appreciate it.
I'm speaking, and treat them well, they don't say, I'd rather go it alone. See, sometimes men do. Because, you know, men will turn around and they'll say, well, I can find somebody who's 20. What do I need? This 42-year-old who's raised my 4 children. Now, your wife must not be a bad person because her daughter says, I'm going to let you use this car if Daddy won't give you a car. So evidently, uncross your hands. Your wife may have taken your attitude for 24 years. I don't. What I'm telling you is you had no right to take that car and put it in a place where she couldn't find it. And you didn't do it because you put a mechanic's lien on it. You did it because you were PO'd at your wife. And that you had no right to do. You had no right to exercise dominion and control over a car that did not belong to you. Now, your daughter, as far as I'm concerned, should not have gone to the police, should have tried to settle this matter civilly. But then again, you took your mother's side in this altercation. Yeah, you felt badly for her.
Somewhat, yes, ma'am.
You felt badly for her. So, in a family situation, should she have gone to the police? Probably not. Did she have a legal right to go to the police because you exercised dominion and control over her car? Absolutely. Don't say no. She did. And what they found when they found you not guilty wasn't because you weren't guilty of exercising control over the car, sir. What they said was, this is really a family matter, and we're not going to find you guilty of a criminal act because what you were really doing was acting vindictive. And we're not going to get involved with that. So, sir, she had the legal right, put your hand down, she had a legal right to call the police to make a police report that she no longer had a car that was titled in her name and that you had.
Even though she had brought the car down there and told me to fix it.
Listen to me, sir. You can't trip over your own words. What you said to me 10 minutes ago was, it was your intention to fix the car. First, you said you were going to make a gift to Kevin when he came back from Afghanistan. Then you changed that and you said, well, I spoke to him and he said to me the parts when he came back from Afghanistan. She never told you she would pay you for anything unless you're going to change your story again.
Judge,
right. You have no case, Mr. Tyler. Grow up. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Tim McDonald says he incurred attorney fees as a result of false charges filed by Camille Rosiniak and Michael Wahab. The couple claims Tim was driving like a maniac.
Mr. McDonald, it is your claim that the defendants filed false charges against you. I believe that the charges emanated from an instance of what we've come to call road rage that happened about a year ago.
That's correct.
The defendant said that you were acting erratically, that what they were trying to do was to secure your license plate number so that they could forward it to the police when this incident occurred. You didn't know each other prior to this incident, is that correct?
No. That's correct.
And you had a trial, Mr. McDonald?
Yes, I did.
And you were acquitted?
I was acquitted on all 3 charges in 37 minutes.
When was the incident?
October 24th, 2004 at 2 o'clock.
And what kind of car were you driving, sir?
I was driving a BMW Z3 convertible with the top down.
Do me a favor. Just let me ask the questions and try to give me just the answers that I need. Where were you going, Mr. McDonald?
I had seen an open house sign on a street called Edwards, and I was following an open house sign into a track that I had never been in.
Tell me what happened, Mr. McDonald.
Well, as I was going through the track, I realized that there was a car in front of me. It was driving in an erratic fashion. What I mean by that, it would slow down to about 5 miles an hour, speed up 6.
So listen to me. Don't interrupt him. You're going to have an opportunity to testify. Don't interrupt him. Sorry, ma'am. Go ahead.
All of a sudden, I see her kind of go to the right. And I took that as her politely moving off to the right to let me go by.
How many lanes of traffic were there?
This street is a little unusual, and I have a picture over here that I took. If I may move over here to show you. Back here is where I'm seeing all the information going.
I just want to know how large the street was, Mr. McDonald. So that's the street that it was on, so there can be a parked car on either side and one lane of traffic.
Easily.
4 car lanes.
Correct.
Keep going.
The minute I went by her car, she lays into the horn, honk all the way around till I get in front. And I look in my rearview mirror, and simultaneously, I see both fingers go out the window on each side. So that kind of set the mood that was going on. And what I did is I gave a wave like this, my error. But I actually thought that was a polite movement on her in the very beginning. So as I go by, and I'm looking in my rearview mirror, I see this go on, they make a left turn, and I think, okay, that's the end of it. Instead, they flip the U-turn and now coming at me. They caught me at the stop sign, and his window's down. She pulls a car right up next to me to the left of my side, and there's nothing but screaming going on. So I looked at Miss Resnick, and I said, "You're driving like an idiot." And then I turned right, they turned left. I thought that was the end of it. Nope. So I'm going down the street here, and as I go down the street, the road, as it shows, veers off to the left. As soon as I got around that corner, they're right back on my butt again. Now the problem is, I have them, having gone off to the left, time's taken, and I think they've got a weapon with them. They're staying between a half a car length and a car length behind my car.
How fast were you going, Mr. McDonald, at this point?
Probably about 25, 30 at the most.
Did you ever accelerate beyond 25 to
Yes,
30
I did.
miles? When?
When we came down the long street after they'd been tailgating me, I spotted people at the very end of the block. It's like the movie Duel, where I've got these people just bearing down on me. I don't know what they have in their possession.
What kind of car were they driving?
A white Malibu, I think is what it was. Like a
Okay.
mid-sized car. So they're behind me. I see people down at the end of the road. I accelerate and pull immediately in front of their house.
Uncross your hands.
At the exact moment that I'm pulling over and I get out of my car to yell to somebody to call the police, Miss Resnick takes her car and pulls in front in a wedge fashion.
Okay. So she parks and blocks you.
Correct. And all this whole thing that's going on is predicated on one idea that you said. They wanted to get my license plate. And I can show 15 different times that they could have. The truth meant, sure.
Life has a rhythm to it. There are certain things that are common sense, and there are certain things that are not. You don't have to fill in the blanks for me.
Okay.
If I need for you to fill in the blanks, Mr. McDonald, I'll ask you.
Okay.
Keep going.
So as soon as I get out of the car, she pulls the car over, he jumps out of the car and immediately starts coming toward me. Now at this point, I take a step toward him, and I say, in the best voice I can, "Get back in your car!"
Okay.
"Get back in your car!" And it worked. He turned around right there, but Miss Resnick didn't leave it there. She puts her car in reverse. Your Honor, I have the transcripts of the court proceeding. I have it on audio, and I would appreciate to be able to at least play a couple tracks to give you a flavor of what happened.
She put the car in reverse. Go
Correct.
ahead.
And as she put the car in reverse, Mr. Wahab goes back to...
Mr. Wahab. Mr. Wahab.
Sorry.
You have problem controlling yourself,
No, I
sir?
don't, Your Honor.
You have problem controlling your temper, sir?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Well, it sounds to me as if you do, sir. You don't want to create that kind of impression, do you?
No, I don't.
You see, you've already done it. You only have one chance to make a first impression, Mr. Wahab.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've made a bad one so far.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Mr. Wahab gets out of the car. I tell him to go back. He gets back in the
You
car.
told me that already.
As Miss Resnick's backing the car up, he jumps in the car, shuts the door, and you think it would end there. No. She keeps the car coming right back at me. I move out of the way, and just like she did at the stop sign, she stops his car door right here, the window's down, and I said, "Get out of here!" Now, let me back up a minute.
When you said get out of here,
Sure.
you made a slapping or punching motion.
Correct.
You hit the car.
Correct.
Did you hit it with your fist, with your hand? Did you kick
Open
it?
right hand.
Okay. Did you kick the car at all?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And then what happened?
So I hit it 3 times, "Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here," and as I'm saying that, I see Mr. Wahab either rearing back, like he's going to go back and kick me through the window, which I can't believe could be true,
Fine.
or...
Well, you don't know. Don't speculate.
Okay, well, I see something coming at me. And as I lean back to deflect it, she has a car and drive, and they take off.
Okay.
But they don't. She flips the car around and U-turns. Stops again.
gosh.
Just on the other side of the road. He pops back out again. I say, "Get back in that car." He gets back in the car instantly. She takes off again. But that's not it. She goes forward again, she stops again, He pops out of the car, but this time, there's a guy that was standing on the other side. A lot of people were evidently watching this thing. He goes over to Mr. Wahab, puts his hand on his shoulder and said, it's not worth it, it's not worth it. Now, here's what I know.
Don't tell me what you know.
This is what I was
Do you have-
thinking.
Just, I don't care what you were thinking.
Okay? I left.
You left. Fine. Do you have a copy of the police report
Yes, I do.
that Ms. Rusniak and Mr. Wahab filed?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Now, you were subsequently arrested, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
What were you charged with, sir?
I was charged with 242 battery of Mr. Wahab, disturbing the peace, challenging to fight against Mr. Wahab, and then vandalism, property, crime against Ms. Brusnick.
Who's going to speak for you? Both of you to start? Go ahead.
First, I would like to say that this man put my life in jeopardy. He really
No, you
did.
put your life in jeopardy. You put your life in jeopardy. I'm going to tell you why you put your life in jeopardy. Because according to what I read in the police report, your statement, you felt as if this man was driving too fast in a residential street. So you decided to try to get his license plate.
That's not all it was.
That's the reason, because there had been no altercation up until that time.
Actually, there was.
Oh, you explain that to me.
Well, as you see the street here, I live on not this street that's cut off, but the one in front of the Suburban right there.
So?
That's my street. I was turning left onto that street.
So?
He almost caused me to have an accident. He went around me on the left-hand side as I was making my
He was
left-hand
driving, I said, he was driving erratically, and you said he put your life at risk. You put your life at risk.
I admit, I should have never followed him, and I will never do it again.
That's right.
I learned my lesson on that
That's
one.
right.
But he did physically assault me,
Listen to me
and my boyfriend.
Listen to me very carefully. You got hot, and you did a very dumb thing. You followed him, and you followed him, and you chased him several times.
I never...
Yes, you did. You followed him in order to, according to you, get his license plate number. But these are your statements, not mine. You told the police that she was so offended by this vehicle's unsafe driving that they made a U-turn and then made a U-turn back to attempt to get his license plate number of the vehicle to report it to the police. They said they pulled up alongside the vehicle at a stop sign. Well, what'd you do that for? You wanted to get his license plate number, and call the police, but that's not what you did. And asked him why he was driving so recklessly. So let me figure this out. You were very offended by the way he was driving. You made 2 U-turns in order to catch up with him. That's what you told the police, unless you say the police are lying. And you didn't get his license plate, but you pulled up to him and, according to you, said to him in a calm way, why are you driving so recklessly? Do you know how ridiculous that sounds?
No.
Do you know how ridiculous? I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying to you that somewhere between what you're going to tell me and what he told me is the truth. That's probably why the jury acquitted him. Now, who are you? You are 2 people. He's 1 person in a car. He doesn't know who you are. He doesn't know whether you have good intentions, bad intentions. He has no clue. All he knows is, according to you, you have turned around and followed him on at least 3 occasions. And at that point, you are 2 nuts following him, and he doesn't know what you have in mind. So now what you're complaining about is that he dented your car. I would have hit your car. I would have taken a brick and thrown it through the windshield if 2 people were following me over a dissing incident?
That's not what it was about in the least.
Well, that's what it was about, madam. If you didn't get the license plate number calmly and call the police, you had a cell phone.
No, I didn't.
we did not have a cell phone.
Oh, and you had no pen?
No.
No,
we
I did have a pen, but we were unable to get his license plate number.
He was driving too
and my
fast.
first intention was not to get his license
He
plate
had
number.
pulled over and stopped.
Your Honor, I can prove that they have a cell phone. I can prove it without a doubt.
How can you prove that?
I wasn't on the cell phone up until the point where I tried to call the police, sir.
Oh, madam, are you telling me that you just lied to me when you said you didn't? I'm speaking. Are you telling me that you just lied to me when you said I didn't have a cell phone?
We don't have a cell phone on us.
Where was the cell phone?
It's not my house.
The house.
Just a second. You say you can show me that she had a cell phone in the car?
What they forgot was that they had called 911 from the cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Let me see.
No, I did call.
Mr. Wahab, let me explain to you twice now what you did, sir. You showed me that you cannot control your temper.
I
Two
can control
times.
my temper, Your Honor.
2 times in a courtroom. So if you can't control yourself in a courtroom, what are you doing out in the street when somebody drives by and flips off your girlfriend? Ooh. You have something that's going to show me that they had a cell phone?
Correct.
Show me.
I also have audio tape of the transcripts.
Okay, what kind of car was it? It was a convertible red BMW 2-door, and it was a male driver? Yes, he has some issues. Okay, what's the cell phone number you're calling from? 714. Okay.
2 things I'll show, Your Honor, if I may.
But just 1 second. Mr.
Sure.
McDonald, that doesn't demonstrate to me that they had a phone in the car.
No,
That
I'm sorry, but I actually have her statement in court saying that she called on the way back to the
let
house.
me see. I'd like to see that.
And I also have the certified copy of the
Your Honor?
transcripts complete.
He said that we pulled over to a red curb on the street. There's no red curb on that street,
Mr.
though.
Wahab, we're not talking about red
All right,
curb,
I'm sorry.
sir. The first thing
I don't
I'm
even know why I'm here today.
Just a second. Well, look at me, and I'm going to tell you. You're here today because he's suing you.
Yeah, obviously.
He's suing you, and one of the things that surprised me about Ms. Rusniak's call to the police is her statement to the police, which I believe said something, and I'm paraphrasing, the guy's got some serious issues. Well, I want to tell you something. If somebody had just assaulted my passenger, as you claim, I wouldn't have said this guy in a BMW had some serious issues. I would have said this guy driving erratically has just assaulted my passenger. He kicked and punched my car. Something is clearly wrong with him. Not in a almost lackadaisical way. I'm speaking. Almost, we can hear it again. Almost lackadaisical way. You're reporting that this guy's got some issues.
The operator never let us finish our statement.
Let me tell you something. I heard this very, very clearly. Nobody cut you off.
No.
Nobody cut you off.
He didn't play the whole tape.
You know, when I said to you before, life has a rhythm, and if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Somebody comes into my middle of the night, takes a knife and puts it to my throat, and assaults me. While they're leaving, they steal a teacup. When I call 911, I don't say somebody just came into my house and stole a teacup. I say someone came into my house, put a knife to my throat, and assaulted me. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes,
I heard him in the
completely
background.
do. He was freaking out, and I was trying to be the calm one.
in the background. All right, let me see where you say she had the cell phone in the car.
Page 31, line 8
Okay.
in the transcript. I have the excerpts, and then I have, and that's a certified transcript.
Now, Mr. McDonald, you think I'm finished with you? I haven't started with you yet.
Okay.
Because I can tell what happened here. Anybody who's lived as long as I have knows exactly what happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not sure you weren't behaving a little erratically, and I'm not sure you didn't lose your temper and didn't use a lot of foul language.
I don't use foul language at all, Your Honor. Not at all.
Not according to the witnesses, sir. According to the witnesses, they say that you were using a little foul language.
That's where
That may be.
that's where it fell apart in court. They never showed up.
Well, they may not have showed up for whatever reason, but that's what the witnesses said initially when they spoke to the police, whether they didn't want to get involved, whether they were neighbors, who knows. Page what?
Page 31, I believe it was line 8.
It's what you said, my dear. I'm going to read it to you. You backed up to help your boyfriend get into the car quicker, right? Yes. And then you leave. Yes. Okay, and you don't see the BMW anymore, correct? Not after I drove off. Okay, do you remember when you called 911? Yes, it was right as I was driving away.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No, because...
Well, that's what it says. Now, I would assume that the trial of this case, you remember things more clearly than you do today because it was closer in time to the event. Aside from the fact, it doesn't make sense. Everybody keeps their cell phone in a car. So the fact that you say to me I didn't have my cell phone in the car was a crock. How much did this whole escapade cost you, Mr. McDonald?
He was able to do it for $3,500 as long as I supplied him with all the information.
But in court, you said that you got acquitted in 37 minutes. We were there.
No, it doesn't matter. It also,
for
you said
Listen
that you
to me.
never touched my
Third time, you couldn't control yourself. Not the first, not the second. Third time, you couldn't control yourself. So you can't control yourself, and she doesn't know how to tell the truth. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
And Your Honor, you're
Step
aware
out.
that I have judgments against each of it individually, correct?
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's it.
27-year-old Tina Soundtress is suing her ex-boyfriend, 26-year-old Alvaro Macias, for the cost of a digital camera and the accessories. Tina says Alvaro's neglect caused the camera to be stolen.
Miss Soundtress, Mr. Macias used to be your boyfriend, then you broke up, then he was your friend, and according to your complaint, you allowed him to borrow a camera of yours.
Right.
And unfortunately, the camera was lost or stolen while it was in his possession. You want a new camera.
Right.
Mr. Macias says, I offered her a camera, the same kind of camera that she had. She didn't want that. She wants a different model that's twice as expensive as the one that I borrowed. Is that true?
They don't make the same model as the camera anymore that I
Well,
had.
tell me about the camera that you let him borrow, because clearly he's responsible. The only issue is, what is he responsible for?
Well, I loaned him the camera, a lens, the case, and the memory card.
How much did you pay for it when you purchased it?
It was around $1,200.
You have the receipt?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it.
That's for the camera, and this is for the case. They don't make the same model anymore.
So?
So I wouldn't be able to get the camera, so I feel that I should be allowed the model that replaces my camera.
No, darling. No. Let us say that he borrowed your 1987 Chevy Camaro, and he damaged the car so that you couldn't drive it. But they don't make a 1987 Chevy Camaro anymore. You don't get a 2006 Chevy. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Does that make it simple for you?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, so now I'll hear you.
I do a lot of different things.
I'm not interested in what. In the fact that she had a relatively new camera. She lent it to you, either through your own negligence, because if the camera was in your possession at all times, it wouldn't have gotten stolen and it wouldn't have gotten lost.
Yes.
All right. Now, you're not responsible to buy her a brand new Cadillac. You're responsible to replace it or give her the money that she spent for it.
But let me explain to you what happened.
I don't care what happened.
Does it matter what she said to me?
No. She's suing you. You're going to tell me she said, forget it, I don't use it anymore?
Yes.
I don't care. Now, she changed her mind. That's what women do. They change her mind. Men don't ask for directions. Women change their mind.
I work for a newspaper, and I also do a radio show. Me and my business partner went to New York for a conference, all right? It's a Latin rap conference. She's a fan of the music.
I don't care. I don't care. She bought the camera with her own money, and you lost it. Now you have to replace it.
And I did. I worked for a newspaper. We went over there to take all these pictures. I told him, watch the camera. It was the end of an artist showcase. And I went to get all this other stuff.
Listen to me. I'm not interested in how it got stolen and how it got lost. It's your responsibility. How many times do I have to say that?
Okay, but I did. When I got back, I told her what happened, okay? I said, let me figure something out, because it's a lot of money. That's an expensive camera. I had told her, don't get that camera, because it's too expensive, okay? But anyways, that's not the point. I told her I'd figure
Listen to me. Just tell me things that are the point. It's very late and I'm hungry. It's lunchtime.
All right.
So I want you to just tell me the point.
All right, the newspaper I work for, I managed to get them to give me this camera. I have the same exact camera at the newspaper. I talked to them.
Just a minute.
The same exact model.
Listen to me. You have a brand new, same camera that she purchased. Is that what you're telling me?
It's not brand new.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,225. That's all. Get out of here.
Laura Howlett is suing her ex-boyfriend, William Lloyd, for a loan to pay his taxes. William claims the money was actually a gift.
How old are you, Mr. Lloyd?
38.
What kind of work do you do?
I drive a truck.
How long have you been doing that for a living?
7 years.
Before that, what did you do?
Mechanic, auto mechanic.
Always make a living?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any family?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you have?
2 sons.
How old are they?
18 and 16.
Have you supported them over the years?
Yes, ma'am.
They don't live with you.
No, ma'am.
Pay your taxes?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this particular occasion, you owe the IRS some money,
Yes, ma'am.
which means at some point you didn't pay all the taxes you were supposed to pay.
Somehow, during my W-2s, my dependents got messed up. That's why I owe taxes.
Well, your dependents didn't get messed up. You've always had only 2 sons, right? They weren't messed up.
No, ma'am. Talk about on the regular taxes you filled at the beginning of the year. I had more dependents on it than what I should have. That's why I owe taxes.
Well, when you had more dependents, where did you get them from?
Ma'am, I only have 2 children.
Right. So how could you have more dependents?
I filled out the paper wrong for my taxes.
Fine. And whose problem was that?
That was mine.
And whose mistake was that?
That was mine.
Whose bad was that?
That was my bad.
Now, Miss Howlett, this is your case.
Yes,
this
ma'am.
used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
And he had this debt to the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
You paid the debt according to the IRS for him.
I did.
And you wanted to pay you back. And Mr. Lloyd says it was very nice of you to pay that debt, but it was a gift. You took that upon yourself, and he has no intention of paying you back.
Not at all. No.
So, how long did you know him before you paid this debt?
We started dating in May 2006, and I paid the debt August 24th, 06.
You a working lady?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a dispatcher.
Trucks?
Yes, for a petroleum company.
Is that the trucking company he works for?
No, no, ma'am.
Mm-mm.
Sorry.
Do you ever watch this program?
I do.
When you watch this program and you see women standing in the position that you're in,
I know.
and you say to yourself, how could they be so stupid? What did they see in him? Why would they want to take their hard-earned money and give it to that piece of nothing? I would never do anything so stupid. Didn't you say that to yourself?
I did, and I'd say it to myself now, about myself.
So tell me how it came about.
We started dating May 06. We got serious pretty quick. I discussed with him moving in with me when his lease was up September 15th.
Okay.
Yes. He kept getting the bill from the IRS that he had made a payment plan.
He made a payment plan with the IRS?
With the IRS, yes.
What was your payment plan with the IRS?
$100 a month.
That sounds great, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened?
I was making $100 payments a month.
And were you living together at the time?
By the second payment, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry.
And she saw you making this $100 payment.
Yes, ma'am. When I would go over to her house, I would give her $100 cash.
So you would give her $100 in cash?
Yes, ma'am. And then she would pay it over the computer. Just simpler than send it by.
To the IRS?
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
good. Go ahead.
And then the third payment, of which we're here for now, for I don't know why, she was on a computer, and I asked her if she would make my payment for me. And she said, yeah, when she got done what she was doing. And so I was sitting on the couch watching TV, so I said, I'll be up there in a few minutes, and I'll give you the money. So I watched TV, and I went upstairs and gave her the $100. And I don't know exactly what she forbade him, but she had paid it off, my whole entire balance that I owed the IRS. I never asked her to, I never begged her to, I never even brought it up.
Good. So you had the $100 in your hand.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do with the $100?
I gave her the $100.
Did she take it?
I believe so.
Oh, so she paid the $21.97 to the IRS, and you gave her $100, which she accepted because you were paying her instead of paying the IRS.
Right, for my $100 payments.
Right. Keep going.
After I gave her the $100, I assumed that she made a $100 payment, just like she had done for me before.
Right.
And then turned around and she had paid it off.
So?
I never asked her to. I never...
No. And what happened the next month? Did you give her $100 next month?
No, ma'am.
Did she ask you for it?
That month, I believe I had moved out by that time.
Oh, did you try to give her the $100?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I didn't.
You gave her the $100 the month before when she had paid off the whole thing, and she took it?
I gave her the $100 before I knew that she had paid off
Yeah,
it
but
off in
sir,
full.
then you understood because she accepted the $100 that instead of her going on her computer every month to pay the IRS, she paid it off, and you would pay her back the $100 a month.
No, ma'am. I paid her $100, assuming that she was making the $100 payment for me.
But she accepted it. Didn't you hear me?
Yes. But I had made the payment after the fact she had told me she had paid it off. If I asked her to pay it off, why would I set up a payment plan with her when I already had it with the IRS? You understand what I'm saying?
Mr. Lloyd.
Yes, ma'am.
Who screwed up with the IRS?
Most of the people at the IRS.
No. Who screwed up with the people at the IRS? I'm talking to you. Who screwed up with the IRS? Say, I did, Your Honor.
As far as making these payments?
Who screwed up with the IRS? And
I did, Your Honor.
That's right.
And who owed the IRS money?
I did at the time.
And who was it that spent the money that they didn't pay in taxes that they should have? Who would that be?
That would be me.
Pay your own taxes.
Yes, ma'am.
You do a crime, you pay your own penalty. You owe the IRS money. There are certain things that are positive in this life, sir. One is death.
And taxes.
And taxes. Everybody has to pay them. What kind of pain is there if somebody else pays your taxes? Do not answer me, sir. If you get away without paying your taxes, sir, by saying, well, she paid it off, so I don't have to pay the IRS back $100 a month until they're all paid off, what lesson does that teach you? What lesson does that teach you?
That you shouldn't let nobody else try to do a favor for you and pay your own bills. I never asked her to do this.
Are you paying careful attention to me,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am, I
Lloyd?
am.
You don't ask somebody to do your prison time for you, and you don't ask somebody else to pay your taxes for you. And if they do so because you had a payment plan with the IRS, and somebody says, look, I'm going to be a nice person, instead of us going through this drill every month, you give me the $100, which she took, clearly, when she paid off the whole bill, in anticipation of every month you paying her $100. Instead, you moved out. You owe $2,097 because you paid the $100. Goodbye. Listen to me. Watch better next time.
I will. Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Jason Wilson says ex-boyfriend Jorge Mina owes for damages from an assault. Jorge says Jason called his mom a bad name.
Mr. Wilson, according to the complaint that I read, you and Mr. Mania had been partners for some time.
That's correct.
And after the two of you went your separate ways, you had asked Mr. Mania to take care of your cat.
Temporarily, yes.
You ascertained at some point that Mr. Mania had taken your cat to the pound, and you went over to his home that he shared with his mother. I assume this is your mother,
Yes.
sir? In order to retrieve the cat's cage or box so that you could go and retrieve the cat from the pound.
Correct.
And at that time, according to you, Mr. Mania assaulted you. You have medical bills, you have lost wages, and you want to be compensated for the assault. Mr. Mania says that you became aggressive with his mother and that he was merely defending his mother.
That is true.
When did you and Mr. Mania officially break off your relationship?
It would be in September of 2004.
But you remain friends?
I would say acquaintances.
When did you ask him to take care of your cat?
That would be in August of 2005.
You called him?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And what did he say when he called you?
Well, when he called me first about the cat to me, he told me
Don't tell me what it was. Just tell me what he said to you, Mr. Mania.
the cat's alive. It's not dead anymore. It's alive. I want you to take care of the cat because I can't take care of it anymore. And I'm like, the cat's alive. What? For the past 6 months.
Well, now it was alive. So he
Yeah.
asked you to take care. Shh. So he asked you to take care of the cat.
Yes.
Did he tell you why?
He couldn't keep it where he was living at that time.
Did he say it was a temporary arrangement?
Yes.
And you said okay?
No.
What did you say?
I said my mom didn't want any more cats. I already had one cat. I told him, don't bring the cat over. He kept insisting, I need the cat over. I'm going to bring it. I'm going to bring it. I'm not going to be home. It used to be my baby, but not anymore.
So he brought the cat over anyway?
Yes.
Who was home when he brought the cat over?
My brother.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
And you left the cat in August of 2005. Do you remember when in August?
August 27th.
How long did you keep the cat, sir?
2 days.
And what did you do with it?
Well, I told him to go and pick it up. I gave him more than 24 hours. My mom kept pushing me. Take the cat, take the cat. There's too many cats here. Take the cat. I told him, you have until Monday before I take it. That happened on a Saturday night. I found the cat on Sunday morning, 1 in the morning when I came back. It was in the backyard with nobody's permission. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock.
I don't care whether
Okay.
you're in shock or not. We're going to get through this part of the story and get to the assault in a minute. So you brought the cat to the pound 1 or 2 days later.
Yes.
When did he come for the cat's cage?
Monday night.
So now tell me what happened, Mr. Wilson, when you got there on the 29th of August, 2005, to pick up your cat's cage.
Okay. I originally went to Jack in the Box where him and his brother work, and I asked for more items other than the cage. However, the cage was what his brother originally did not bring and said, okay, well, George gets off at 10 o'clock.
Could we get over to who was home at the 29th when you went there to pick up the cage?
George and his mother.
And what happened?
They had just pulled up into the driveway, and I
proceeded to walk towards the entrance of the gate to the driveway, and his mother became very upset because she never liked me and started yelling at me in Spanish. I don't know what she was saying because she was speaking Spanish, and I just avoided her. George proceeded to walk towards inside the garage to get the cage for me, and his mother kept yelling and yelling. I did get out of line, and all I did say is I called her the B word. And so George came and charged after me and said, "What did you call my mom?" striking me several times.
Where did he strike you?
In my face and in my head, on my head. And I ran towards the main street, and he ran after me. He caught me basically and started hitting me more, caused me to fall. I passed out. A neighbor seen me and came to my attention and waited for the paramedics to get there.
You have a hospital report?
I do.
You have a police report?
I do have some memos. It states that there was a police report made.
Let me see, please.
And this is the original hospital where it says alleged assault, where I was
Let me just see it.
There for 2 days.
How long were you out of work?
It was from August 29th to September 29th, so a month.
Were you ever taken into custody, Mr. Mania? Any police officer ever speak to you?
Oh, they did at the house, but that's about it.
Did you pursue this matter with the police, Mr. Wilson?
I did not proceed to convict or press charges due to I didn't want to ruin it for him on becoming a legal resident, and that's why I didn't.
Step up, please. Your mother speaks Spanish?
Yes.
Can you tell me your name?
Yes, Your Honor. Samantha Lubrani. I'm a certified court interpreter.
Mrs. Mania, what did you say when he came to pick up the cat's cage?
¿Qué le dijo usted al señor Wilson cuando él llegó a buscar la jaula del gato?
Estaba dentro de mi propiedad.
I was on my property.
Sin mi permiso.
He was on my property without my permission.
Yo le dije, ¿qué estás haciendo aquí?
I said to him, what are you doing here?
Él dijo, vengo a recoger esto, el cage del gato.
He said, I'm coming to pick up this, the cat's cage.
Se lo había dejado Jorge horas antes fuera de la casa.
We had left it for him. Jorge had left it for him several hours earlier outside the house.
I asked you what you said to Mr. Wilson.
Oh, al señor Wilson.
¿Qué estás haciendo aquí?
What are you doing here?
What else did you say to him?
¿Qué más le dijo usted a él?
Nada más.
Nothing else.
I don't think I believe you.
Parece que no le creo a usted.
I don't think I believe you.
Parece que no le creo a usted.
No hablo inglés.
I don't speak English.
Then how do you know what he said to you?
Entonces, ¿cómo sabe usted lo que él le dijo a usted?
Únicamente le dije, ¿qué estás haciendo aquí? Mi hijo le dijo en inglés. Únicamente.
All I said to him was, what are you doing here? And my son spoke to him in English. That was all.
And I'm telling you that I don't believe you.
Y yo le estoy diciendo a usted que no la creo.
I believe that you got into
Yo creo que usted sí.
a shouting match with Mr. Wilson.
Tuvo una discusión a gritos.
Because you were unhappy that he brought the cat to your house in the first place. You were unhappy with his previous relationship with your son.
No. No es cierto.
That's not true.
No.
Did Mr. Wilson call you a...
El señor Wilson sí le dijo.
Yes.
You want me to believe that Mr. Wilson called you a... because you said to him, what are you doing here?
Eso tendría que
That just to answer my question. You want me to believe that Mr. Wilson called you a name, and all you said to him was, what are you doing here?
Estaba dentro de mi propiedad.
I was on my property.
That's not what I asked you.
Fue lo que le pregunté.
She's speaking Spanish. You do understand Spanish, don't you?
Yes.
She speaks in the same dialect that you do?
Yes, yes.
Then answer my question. You want me to believe that Mr. Wilson called you a name, and all you said to him was, what are you doing here?
Es lo cierto.
It's the truth.
No. No. Now let's hear from your son.
You got where I'm going, Mr. Mania?
Yes.
I want you to understand this, Mr. Mania. When somebody lies to me once, I tend to find suspect everything else that they say to me.
I understand that.
So now I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Did your mother just tell me the truth?
Yes, she did.
Then you and I are going to have a problem, Mr. Mania, with the remainder of your testimony, sir, because I don't believe your mother and I don't believe you. Did your mother like Mr. Wilson? Did she like Mr. Wilson?
At that point?
Yes.
Probably not.
Did she like the fact that he brought over the cat to your house without permission?
No.
Did she give you a hard time about the cat being in your house?
Yes, she did.
That's what you just told me.
Yeah.
So then you want me to believe that when he came there, and according to your mother, he came to my property without permission.
He wasn't without permission.
Listen, that's what she told me.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
Just a second.
Okay.
That's what she told me.
Okay.
That all she said to him was, "What are you doing here?" That's what you want me to believe, Mr. Mania?
That's what she said, and that's when he got into it and say, "Shut your mouth, that," you know. And she was like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing?" And he said in Spanish.
No. I don't hear, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" That's two, "What are you doing here?" Do you understand where I'm going, Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Your mother was screaming at him. Yeah, she was. And he called her a bad name, and he should not have. No question about it. It was disrespectful. You understand that?
I do.
Doesn't give you the right to hit him.
I understand that, Your Honor.
And you hit him because he called your mother a name.
That and because he was there at the house without permission.
You just told me a moment ago he wasn't there without permission. You just said that to me, which means he had somebody's permission, because your mother just said to me that my son left the cage out for him.
That was hours before. Hours before.
What difference does it make? You said, "Come and pick up the cage. I'm going to leave it out for you." So he had permission. So now you're telling me that the reason you hit him is because he called your mother a name and because he was on your property without permission.
Yes.
You can't do that.
I understand that.
And you are responsible then for all of his injuries, because in addition to that, not only did your mother lie to me, but you lied in your answer. Because in your answer, you say, "When plaintiff became hostile and aggressive towards my mother, he came at her, so I hit him."
He was when...
No. That's not what you just told me. That's what you put in the answer. You just told me, sir, that the reason you hit him is because he called your mother a name. You got angry.
But when he was saying that he was coming towards us, he was coming towards us, Your Honor.
Mr. Mania, she's a liar, and so are you. You either lied to me just now when you say that the reason you hit him is because he called your mother a name, or you lied in your answer. Because here you would have said to me, "I became frightened because he became very aggressive. He came towards me in a stance towards my mother, in a stance that I thought that this guy, who you outweighed probably by 25 pounds, was going to hurt me or my mother. So in self-defense, I hit him." That's not what happened, Mr. Mania. What happened because he called your mama a name, and you hit him. And you got so angry that you chased him down the street, and you hit him again. And you're going to pay for his injuries, and you're going to pay for his lost wages, and you're going to pay for his pain and suffering, because you have absolutely no right to do that. Sticks and stones break your bones. Names will never hurt me. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Aaron bartender Terry Tucker is suing 22-year-old student Becky Marquez for throwing a beer bottle at her car. Becky says Terry's story is a lie.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Hello. Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 255 on the calendar in the matter of Tucker versus Marquez. How you doing, Judge?
Good. How are you, Bird?
Doing fine.
Good.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Tucker, your complaint is that the defendant, who is a total stranger to you, damaged your car in a parking lot of a bar.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen?
Saturday, September 2nd, after midnight, so it'd probably be Sunday, early morning.
How long had you been in the bar?
For about 45 minutes.
You drove?
Yes, ma'am.
Parked your car in the parking lot?
Yes.
What happened when you came outside?
Miss Marquez was coming across the street towards the club, and she had not made it to the curb yet, and she had asked if I had seen a Lorraine Marin. And I told her, "No, I haven't, and I really don't give a about that girl."
Why would you answer that way?
Well, Your Honor, I was a little bit irritated that she came up to me because this girl has a bad reputation, and I was in a bad mood. Lorraine Marin.
Yeah.
And I was in a little bit bad mood, and I was a little bit rude to her. But I don't care for her. She has a really bad reputation in our community. And
you mean this Lorraine has a bad
Yes.
reputation, but you didn't know her at all?
No, I didn't.
You were in a bad mood?
Yeah.
So you were rude?
A little bit.
Okay. What happened next?
She stepped up onto the curb to the sidewalk and said, "You have a really bad attitude."
Which you did?
Yes.
Okay.
And she says, "Obviously, you don't know who I am." And I told her, "I really don't care who you are." And at that time, she kept coming forward to me, and I said, "What are you going to do, beat me up?" And she didn't say anything. And she proceeded to just stand about 4 feet away from me with her back up to the wall of the club entrance.
So, she's standing with her back towards the club entrance.
At that point, I didn't want anything to deal with her. I did not want to fight with her. I just got in my car and left. She didn't say anything. She was really quiet. So when I was pulling out, I noticed her hands were in her jacket pocket, and she was just looking at me. She pulled out a bottle of beer and hurled it at my car. And it hit my window like about right here. And if it would have hit 4 inches down lower, this would have been a whole different case. She would have hit me in the head. I could have been blind. I could have, been maimed for life.
Was your car window open or closed?
Yes, it was open all the way down, and there was glass all over me, and I was completely wet. I had a prior burn cooking, and it had opened up from the glass, and it was bleeding.
So what did you do?
I got out of my car. She was kind of just standing there. I think she had thought she had made her mark, but she didn't. And I went up to her, and I got her by the nape of the neck, and I held her down away from my body, and I told the patrons in the bar to call the cops. I'm putting her under citizen's arrest.
And somebody called the police?
Someone did call the police.
Police arrived?
The police did not arrive. She started to struggle and squirm, and she was saying, "Let me go, let me go." And I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable detaining her. So I let her go, and she darted off around the club and down some dark railroad tracks. And at that point, my friends urged me. I was bleeding, kind of a little bit stunned. So I went home, and I called the police. They said, "I'm over here. Come and take a police report."
And did they?
Yes, they did.
How did you find out her name?
Because we live in a really small neighborhood. It's Niles, and we have a mutual friend that works at a pizza parlor in our town.
But you had never had any contact with her
I've never seen her before. But her family has a very...
I don't care about her family. I'd like to see the photographs that you seem to have, and I'd like to see the police report, please. Okay, and you actually saw the defendant pick up this bottle and hit your car with it?
I saw her put her hand in her coat and take it out of the coat and go like this.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Marquez, would you tell me your version of the events, please?
Yes, ma'am. On September 3rd, it was past midnight, I had been out with Lorraine. I somehow lost her because I don't go inside the bars. She had been sitting, playing pool, whatever she was doing inside the Derby, and I went back there to not pick her up, but to meet with her, and I didn't go inside the bar. The bar door was closed, and she was exiting the bar. Terry Tucker was exiting the bar. And I asked her, "Hey, is Lorraine in there?" She said, "I don't know who that Lorraine is, and I don't really care where she is." And I just stood there, and I was like, "Man, you got an attitude problem, lady." And she's all, "I know I do. What are you going to do about it?" I wasn't exactly looking for a physical altercation with her. I just wanted to I asked a simple yes or no question. She proceeded to just keep calling me all kinds. She called me a Mexican hussy, a chicken. She called me all kinds of and I hadn't even spoken after this. I had just still asked a simple question. And see, I'm not accustomed to be spoken to this way, especially when I'm not, doing anything to her. And I just stood there, and I'm not going to walk off. I proceeded to wait for her, and she just kept talking and talking and talking and calling me all kinds of names. She then got in her car, and then she turned it on, she reversed. I was still standing there, and she rolled down her window, and she's all, "I told you you weren't going to do nothing, you chicken." Then I started saying something back to her, and I was like, what do you want me to do? I wasn't looking for any kind of problems with this lady. And after I started yelling, back at her, because I wasn't yelling at her when I was standing there, she got out of her car, and she walks up to me, and she's all, "Watch this, you little..." And she grabbed my hair, and I've never been tossed around like this, okay? She grabbed my hair, wrapped it around her wrist, got her nails into my scalp, and then said, "You're coming with me." And she walked me off to the side. At this point, I'm totally hunched over, I'm in shock, going, "Oh my God," because I couldn't do anything about it. And she starts pounding on the bar door, and I'm thinking it's funny right now because I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe this is happening." I just asked her, "Is Lorraine in there?" And they open the door, and she walks in, and my head smacks the side of the door where the you know, whatever. And then I started to taste blood, and I started, you know, I was bleeding, my eye was messed up, my gums were bleeding, I got scraped along the side of the door, and then I was like, I'm bleeding, let me go, you know, come on. And then when I heard she was calling the cops, yeah, I started to wiggle and swarm around. I was appalled. I couldn't believe that I'm getting my, you know, or excuse my, I started squirming, let me go, let me go, let me go.
And you finally got free?
Yeah, she let me go. There's no way I could have gotten free if she wouldn't let me go.
Where did you go?
Walked home. I lived like 2 minutes from the place. And that's when I went home and I said, I'm bleeding. There's blood clotted at the bottom of my nostrils. And she opens the door and she's like, I'm like, you weren't at the bar, you know, where were you?
Listen to my question.
Huh?
So you got home. Did you call the police?
No.
You were just severely assaulted. Blood is all over your mouth. Blood is caking in your nose. You were assaulted by a perfect stranger. They're asking a simple question. When, for the first time, were you contacted by the police?
The next day, I was in the shower, and the doorbell rang. I then said, who is it? It says, Fremont Police, ma'am.
Okay, so it was the next day
Yes.
that you were contacted by the police in connection with the plaintiff's complaint of vandalism.
Yes.
Prior to this incident, have you ever been arrested?
What does that have to do with it? I know what it is. Yes, I have.
Speak not. I'm not speaking to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you currently, Miss Marquez, taking any prescription medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any other kind of medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Do you understand where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
Bert and I have been together for a long time, Miss Marquez. Bert's got the same kind of nose that I do.
And later today,
you never paid her for the car.
She never asked for the money until that ketchup incident.
So you had a fight over the ketchup and she wanted the money.
She threw a fit over ketchup, so she asked for the money.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Tucker is suing Becky Marquez for throwing a beer bottle at her car. Becky says Terry attacked her for no reason.
Okay. When was the last time you were arrested?
August 31st, 2000. Charges were dropped. No case.
What were you arrested for?
I don't care to discuss that. That's not what I'm here for.
Prior to the 31st of August, when were you arrested?
I don't see what that has to do with this. That's all fine. Yeah, I've been arrested more than one. That's fine. I have no problem admitting that. I don't care if I win or lose this. I am here to make a statement that I did not do anything at all to this perfect stranger. I asked her a question, and that is it. Regardless as to my record, that's nobody's business. Well, yours or hers or anybody's.
Are you currently, Miss Marquez, taking any medication?
Am I?
Yes.
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any prescription medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any other kind of medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Okay. So now you're going to have my ruling. Ruling is based on common sense. Do you understand where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
Bert and I have been together for a long time, Miss Marquez. Bert's got the same kind of nose that I do. Right? What doesn't seem to fit, Miss Marquez, with regard to your statement is, common sense would dictate, madam, that if someone had just for absolutely no reason assaulted me, causing me to bleed in the mouth, have kicked up blood in my nostrils, pulled my hair, banged my head into a wall, the first thing that I would do when I made it home that couple of blocks is to pick up the phone, call the police, and say, this perfect stranger, who absolutely had a bad attitude,
exactly,
just assaulted me. This is where it happened. You did nothing. On the other hand, the plaintiff contacted the police immediately. The police responded. The police noted damage to the car. The police noted glass all over the car, totally consistent with someone throwing some sort of an object at the car. Common sense would dictate that when someone is the victim of a crime, in this case vandalism, they want the right person apprehended. They don't want the wrong person apprehended. They want the right person to be apprehended and to be punished, right? So there would be no reason that she would give your name as the person who threw the bottle at her car unless it was true. Let me see the estimates of the damage, please.
The last thing I'm going to do is bring to your attention that I've been arrested before, but since it's all out in the open. Obviously, due to this, I am on certain court-ordered probation. The last thing I'm going to do is call the cops and bring them to me for any reason. I wasn't fatally injured. I was going to get over it. I took a shower, cleared up, had a bruise for a couple of days. The last thing I'm going to do is call the police, because when that happens, most of the time they're not in my favor. I'm not going to call the police. They're not. It wasn't necessary.
You were the victim of an assault.
And I'm not going to call the police. I don't call the cops on nobody, especially not myself. The further away I stay from them, the better off I am. Period.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of
That's fine.
$758.
That's fine.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Yeah.
I anticipate there may be a little bit of problems.
We want the truth to come out, and I will talk to Terry later.
Just tell the truth and do what you think is right.
And now the next case.
All parties on Safdar versus Johnson. Step forward.
25-year-old waitress Violet Safdar is suing former friend, 25-year-old waitress Melissa Johnson, for the unpaid balance on a used car. Melissa is countersuing for repair bills.
You and the defendant used to be friends, and then you made the stupid mistake of selling her a used car.
Yes.
Never did that. And it is your claim that she owes you $500, which was the agreed-upon price.
Yes.
She says that the repairs cost more than you told her they were going to cost. She's countersuing for $1,600, and she says you stole the pink slip to her car. Right?
Yes.
And that this whole thing would not have come down to a lawsuit, except that you had a fight over something at your place of employment about filling up ketchup bottles.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Didn't you ever hear the expression?
That's not right
I
either.
want you to try receiving and stop talking. Maybe you'll be more successful in life.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Violet Safdar says former friend Melissa Johnson owes her for the unpaid balance on a car. Melissa says Violet lied about its condition.
Okay, just for my own curiosity, you didn't tell me what the fight was about the ketchup bottle, so who's going to tell me about that?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Okay, randomly at work, to do our end of day side work for our job.
You are both waitresses?
Yes. So I asked her, are you going to help me with my side work? She said no. At that point, I didn't say anything. I stayed a half-hour overtime to finish my work. She stayed. We went home. I was living with her at the time. We went home. And from then, we haven't talked.
And was the side work filling up the ketchup bottles?
And syrups.
And syrups?
Yes. Which are two big jobs instead of like two small jobs, or like setups and sugar and salt. So.
Okay. When did you sell her this car?
June 2000.
What kind of car was it?
A Honda 1986 Prelude.
What was the agreement?
The agreement was that the car needed, that I knew of, $600 to $700 worth of work, and she would then pay me when the work was done.
Just a minute. What was the agreed upon price of the car?
$500.
Is that right?
She said when I was able to make the payments or pay whenever I could the $500 when the car was fixed. To this day, the car is still not fixed. I've made almost $3,000 in repairs.
Well, why didn't you stop at $600?
I had already put too much in it, and it was
no.
It was stupid to just stop. Because why did I put that much? I'm not getting that back. If I put that in it, why?
Miss Johnson, you took the car to a mechanic. What was the first thing that the mechanic said to you when you brought the car there?
They told me it would cost around probably about $600, and then 2 days later it broke down again. It was another problem. Another.
Initially, you took it to a place of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
They told you it would cost you between $600 and $700 to fix it, which is exactly what she said to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you started to fix it.
Yes.
So she did not purposely deceive you.
No, but she didn't know what all was wrong with the car.
That's your problem. You buy a car that's 14 years old. The fact that you decided to spend more money doesn't mean that you get another farthing from her. So your counterclaim is dismissed.
Well, I don't think that I should have had to put that much into it.
You shouldn't have.
No,
it's not her fault, it's your fault.
And should I go and spend even more money on another car? That's not right.
No,
I have this car.
Ms. Johnson,
I'm dealing with it.
Don't try to talk over me. No. You shouldn't spend any more money on this car.
So should
Didn't you
I
ever
just
hear
left
the
it?
expression?
That's not right
I
either.
want you to try receiving and stop talking. Maybe you'll be more successful in life. Did you ever hear the expression, throwing good money after bad? Did you ever hear that expression?
Bird, did you ever hear the expression throwing good money after bad?
Mm-hmm. Every time I spend bad money.
Right? Would you keep pouring thousands of dollars into a 14-year-old car?
No.
You would say, I'm going to cut my losses, and instead of spending $3,000 to get this car fixed, once the $600 is over, I'm going to unload this car. Maybe I can get a couple of $100 for it and buy myself a car that maybe runs. It's not her fault that you decided to put all this money in the car. She did not commit fraud against you. She had the same information you got from your own person. Nobody can tell that a car is going to continually break down. Nobody.
Yeah,
so
even
your
the mechanic said I would be back. Even the mechanic the first time said I would keep coming back.
Counterclaim is dismissed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You still have the car?
Yes, not really, but it's broke down in Corona. I don't run now.
Do you want it?
Not really.
Good. You want to sign over the pink slip to her?
It's still in my name.
Shh. So you still own the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Go and get it.
I've put too much money into it to just give it up like that.
Well,
she did sign it over. She gave me the pink slip, and then she went and deceived me and took it out of the car.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You never paid her for the car. Shh. Listen to me. You
She
can't
gave me the pink slip. She did give me the pink slip, and then she took it back from me.
Pay attention. Do you want the car?
Yes, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to resell it. Now I put too much money into it. It's useless to just throw it away like that.
Fine, then you have to give her $500.
I've worked hard for that much.
Shh, just listen to me. Then you have to give her $500.
I don't believe I should. No, it's...
You didn't pay her for the car.
She never asked for the money until that ketchup incident.
So you had to fight over the ketchup, then she wanted the money.
She threw a fit over ketchup, so she asked for the money.
Miss Johnson, you want the car, or you want to pay her for the car?
I don't want the car, but I'm going to keep it because I spent too much money on it.
Then you have to pay her. Now what do you want to do?
I guess I don't have a choice, but I don't feel I should have to.
Are you prepared to sign this car over to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Sign the car over to her. Complete the paperwork, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.